Now batting for the Reds, number 44, the shortstop, Ellie Thrill.
Here are your hosts, Ricky Logan and Roger Straz.
Welcome to the Red Hot Reds podcast. I'm Roger, that's Ricky. It is Sunday at 8 p.m. We are on time and we are live. And we are talking about actual baseball games in this show. I mean, obviously these games don't count. They're not necessarily going to be earth-shattering one way or the other, probably for a lot of guys. But it's good to see the guys in action in games that are against a different opponent, as opposed to when they go up against each other in the batting practices that they put out there on X and their socials for the Reds. So it's a little bit more of a competition in this respect. And we're going to get into all the stuff that happened with the two games in the start of the spring training, some other topics. ABS, Ricky, happy 2026. ABS is here for the majors, which, if you don't know, is the automatic balls and strikes, which is like kind of like I see it as like how tennis has that Hawkeye system where they throw it up on the screen and you get to see what exactly if it's strike or not. And I kind of like it in some respects, and we can get into that a little bit more, especially how it affects the Cincinnati Reds. But Ricky, we're on the show. I hear your kids are doing better, which is great to hear. How's your week been?
It's been all right. Excited to have baseball back. It's exciting to see just, Bleday hitting bombs in batting practice and Ellie taking a pitching machine deep and everything else. So it's pretty awesome, man. How about you?
I was good. It was good. I think you had a kid's birthday party yesterday, and I had a kid's birthday party. And I was so disoriented, I guess, at the kid's birthday party. I was texting you thinking I was texting my wife. So there's that. So I was like, oh God, wrong person. Luckily, it wasn't anything too scandalous or whatnot. But yeah, it was a good week. It was good to see Reds on MLB TV for free, which is nice to see. And we can get into this as well, just as a little tangent. It's like a bunch of people on X, Greg Kuffner, a.k.a. Reds Daily 4, I think is the lead on this charge, is like, why aren't all spring training games streaming? What
they have cameras, like, why not?
And I'm sure people will pay for it if it's not free. Like, it is free, obviously sometimes, and they do that from time to time on MLB TV and whatnot.
Just include it in the Reds TV package.
Well, yeah, I think because MLB is in charge of it, it's probably their decision, right? Like, I don't know exactly who makes these decisions. The decision to go to Reds.tv, the production being done by Major League Baseball was kind of a little bit late. Maybe there's something like that, but even like the Yankees or I'm pretty sure the Cubs, who have their own TV network, stream every single game. So maybe you're right. Maybe it's a matter of, is it worth the squeeze? Like, juice worth the squeeze if it's money, like, involved? Like, maybe they just don't want to do that. Put the effort of hiring cameramen or whatever it is. It's probably something. It always has to do with money, right? Especially with baseball. So, but we'll get into that for sure, and we'll get into also some other little topics of the first full year for Salbert, which is Stewholes is his name.
That's what I'm calling him.
and your guy Noelvi Marte going full first year in the outfield, which would be great to see. So, but before we start anything, we're talking about the ABS and how it affects the Reds. The ABS system, like I was talking about before, is this new system they had in the minors, and they seemed like it kind of worked. There wasn't really terrible amount of pushback, I would think, from the minors. And the minor league players probably are fully used to it at this point. It's now, I think, the major leaguers that are basically trying to get used to this system. And it seemed like the Reds had a pretty good, easy time with it. Sal, challenged something, and he won his and got a walk. And it felt like it wasn't a detriment on the game, like how, like, when they first had instant replay and they would go to the monitors and all that, or go to New York in the offices, and it took like 5 minutes and it dragged on the game. This didn't do that at all, which is great. But what were your first thoughts, Ricky, about the ABS system in 2026?
I am here for it. It's a much needed change. Yeah, I mean, it just takes a second. I think we saw from the South Stewart call. It just like everything's already there. The technologies has been there for the K zone, for the cameras, for the TV broadcast for years now. I think it was introduced all together in 2019 in like a Pacific League series, and then the minors adopted it in 21, I believe, and like it's a much needed change. It's gonna make everything better, and you're really gonna see who has like really good eyes for the strike zone and who's gonna like Joey Votto would have thrived with ABS because if Votto didn't swing, it wasn't a strike. So we're gonna see like South Stewart just early in his career in the minor leagues has always walked more than he struck out, and then to get the first call for the Reds be him and be correct, it's fitting, and I love it.
Yeah, for sure. I think people were putting out there like Joey Votto would had a career 1,000 challenge rate if he ever had the chance during his career. Like every single time, he'd probably go in his favor, unless some sort of malfunction, maybe with the technology or something, or maybe some nefarious stuff going on with that. There was some talk about. I was tuning into some post game shows about the Reds, and they were talking about how are teams, because baseball throughout history has been known and defined by cheating in many different ways. Obviously, many different examples come to mind. But like, what's going to happen? That's, I guess, my question to you right now. Is there going to be a possibility that teams are going to possibly be able to cheat at this system or gain it for their advantage? It can be a critical, type of thing, an advantage if they're able to basically work the system or win at a maybe better than 50% clip. Is there a possibility for cheating, you think, Ricky?
I think the only like legitimate way you could cheat it is if you had a system like the Astros had in 2017, to where you had the cameras in the outfield and you can kind of see live what was happening. But other than that, I think it's just going to be like who has got the best eye for the strike zone. Because I think we saw one today with, I think it was Leon Richardson pitching and Connor Burns challenge, and it was still a ball. Which if you got a catcher behind the plate calling it, and he's wrong, I don't know how to feel about that, but because he's right there, he is the strike zone effectively. But I think it's gonna be really hard to cheat it. It's just there's gonna have to be another technology involved to make that work, I think.
Yeah, the technology they took away is what you were a bunch of people are alluding to in the television broadcast, and I think everywhere, even the clubhouse televisions, don't have that white box anymore. Yeah. And I like that white box when they first introduced it because you can see, and it was kind of like, this isn't exactly where the strike zone is because, they can't like have a situation where like, oh, on the TV, it says it's a strike. And then some people from, organizations, presidents of baseball ops would be calling in to Rob Manfred, like, hey man, you're screwing us here. We're getting strikes. And the TV says we're getting strikes, but your umpire is saying it's not. But I think it's kind of a little bit awkward now watching because I don't know where the box is. I don't know where you're kind of like, oh man, now I got to like really lock in and see where this guy's strike zone is. You know what I mean? And the other thing that's kind of cool is that the strike zone now is like a percentage, like it's like a defined percentage of like from your feet up to your knees or what have you. It's not just like, the old adage was like kind of like a rule of thumb with like right at your knees, right above your knees to like the lettering of your jersey, right? If you have like a team name across your jersey, and that's kind of, that could be vague, right? Like, cause a guy could be crouched down in a really weird stance.
You could have Ellie De La Cruz at 6'5" and Matt McLean at 5'8".
Yeah. It could, it should vary. Right. But now they have like a super exact strike zone based on the percentages of your height and whatnot, and that kind of I think that will be beneficial in the long run, like you said as well, with being able to clean up these kind of really egregious calls that could define a game, a series, a World Series maybe. Is it going to be in the playoffs as well, the ABS?
You know what? Let me double check that. I have the rule book here.
I think so. I'm not 100% sure. It would be kind of I think if they're implementing it across the regular season, it's kind of be weird. But they also have that Manfred rule that only is in the the ghost runner at second base is only a regular season thing. It's not a postseason thing. So
It is a postseason rule.
Okay, so that could define a World Series. They challenge a call one way or the other, and you can really get that critical at bat become a walk or a strikeout, right, or whatever.
Yeah, imagine like bases loaded, situation. Guy walks, calls it a strike, and they challenge it, and that's a walk off. Like that'd be insane. That would be one of the crazier things we've seen in recent memory.
Yeah. Carrick says he likes the no box strike zone. I don't know.
It'll take time to get used to, just because we've seen it for so long. We remember a time when only ESPN had it with K Zone. Remember, and then everybody else started to adopt it.
Yeah. Well, this new technology also, Ricky, I think you wrote about this, should benefit your Cincinnati Reds, mostly in the name of Elly De La Cruz, who has gotten some really bad calls against him just even last year, right?
Yeah.
So, how is this going to benefit Elly and the Reds, Ricky?
Yeah, so the Reds are in the top half of Major League Baseball last year in incorrect called strike threes. I think they had 42 called against them, which the Yankees had 60, something like 68, I think. Yes, they had 68.
Judge.
Yeah. Elly and McLean are among the leaders in all of baseball last year with incorrect calls. Matt McLean had 60 incorrect calls throughout the entire year, which those weren't all called strike three, but there was some that were. But just having that many, 60 calls and so many at bats in a season, and while you're slumping, just can't be ideal. And then Elly, I couldn't find the number on him, but John Sadak tweeted it out when he was talking about it on Twitter the other day, that he was among the leaders in all of baseball in incorrect called strike threes, which we've seen, because if there's one thing we can kind of commend Elly on since he's debuted is his plate discipline and kind of his eye for the strike zone. You kind of get used to that, like coming up through the minor leagues. Like he debuted in 23. So he was in the minor leagues in 21 and 22 and part of 23. So he had ABS kind of like at his disposal, and then when he gets up here and he gets these calls, like he can't challenge him. He's just got to live with it. And the strides that he took last year, I know that people didn't like the toe tap method that he had, but I think that really helped him kind of get a better feel for the zone and kind of timing up pitches. And then now that he's going back to the leg kick, he can use the knowledge that he had from that with the power that he's got from the leg kick. And now with ABS, like he could have a breakout year this year. This could be the year we finally see Elly at his best.
Yeah, for sure. And you were referencing the Sadak post out there. Sadak put it out here. Over his first full seasons in 24 and 25, Elly has seen the 8th most highest total true balls called strikes against him. And Gino is also in the top 20 over that time as well. So there's another Red that could benefit potentially from this system. And, obviously it could go a number of ways. You could challenge something that is a strike and ends up going against you. So you have some kind of different strategies. I know there is one rule for the Cincinnati Reds that Tito has implemented, is that pitchers are not allowed to challenge any pitch. It's kind of like the thinking is that all pitchers think that their stuff is strikes kind of thing. They're not going to want to like have any, ambiguity or kind of maybe any, humility towards like, oh, what are you talking about? That was definitely, so it's only going to be catchers. Like you said, Connor Burns challenged one today, and hitters if, Sal Sue in that situation, and Elly or whomever. The thing that also is kind of compelling is like the strategy behind it, because you get 2, but if you keep getting it right, you keep those 2. Yeah. So that could be a situation where you might not want to burn them in the first half of the game, first 4 or 5 innings, and maybe save them, especially if it's like an important game. But, egregious calls happen in the first inning too. So you never know that they might go after it just so they can, maintain those 2 challenges if they feel like they could get it right in the first inning. So there's that to it as well.
I wanted to add this about Elly too. I saw Carrick kind of put this in the chat about Ellie not knowing the zone good enough for the challenge. He dropped his strikeout total by 37 this year, and he had more at bats than he did in 24. I think I'm not saying he's got like the best eye on the team, but I don't think he gets enough credit for the eye that he has. But his bat to ball skills, like that's where he's at his best. And like he hits a lot of pitches that are bad balls anyway. But like if you notice, a lot of his strikeouts, like the majority of his strikeouts, I think, are on like the borderline calls. And occasionally you see him chase the curveball that bounces or whatever. But that's any hitter, But I think just going into his third full season, his fourth overall, I think this is just going to be like a year where we finally see like full Ellie, and that's going to be awesome and scary and just exciting.
For sure. Ronnie Snyder writes in, I feel that Tito and the management is going to have a hard time with this 26-man roster. And we will have a 26-man roster episode when it starts to get really close to opening day or thereabouts, because there are going to be some tough decisions. There won't be hopefully any Bubba Thompson type decisions.
Garrett Hampson's.
Yeah. Oh, Garrett Hampson's decision. But injuries and things happen. So like even like a guy like I think Ty Steve was supposed to be on the opening day roster, and he ended up being hurt, I think, this past season, right?
And Austin Hayes.
Exactly. So there's also sort of Austin Wins coming in to be a part of the 26-man, even though that he probably wasn't going to be at the first part. But thank you for chiming in, Ronnie Snyder. I guess I want to take this moment to thank all the subscribers that have subscribed and been a part of this ride. Really appreciate it. Please go to Red Hot Reds YouTube and subscribe if you haven't already. Like, comment, subscribe, get the notification bell. We're going to be going live 8 p.m. on Sundays, just like we are tonight, throughout the season to recap the week. Also, we'll have a special show on Mondays, probably at 8 p.m. the same time, just recapping the minor league Mondays on 8 p.m. on Mondays, following our show on Sunday. Sunday is going to be mostly about the Reds, the major league team. Maybe a little shout out to different things that may happen throughout the week, because I'm sure we'll have a bunch of guys that hopefully have some good minor league seasons coming up. It'll be awesome to see just their growth. And we'll talk about the minor league camp invitees a little bit later in the show, because that was revealed by Charlie Goldsmith. It was supposed to be, I think, released this week, but it got released a little bit early. A bunch of our guys that we follow, Kunsel, McChrystal, Harmon's already on that list, Key and Vu. So we'll go through that, and hopefully we'll see some of those guys in action sooner than later, because I saw that Julian Garcia, a guy that I didn't think was going to be playing so quick, already made his spring debut, spring training debut. So like shout out to that. Carrick puts out 29.8 career K.
Yeah, you want to know what Aaron Judge's is?
I want to know Otani's too, because I think
28% for Aaron Judge.
Okay. Otani's got to be up there too, because like the stat I had is that Otani owns the top 2 single season strikeout totals for an MVP of all time. So that means even Judge isn't in the top 2.
And then Shohei's is 31%.
And Shohei, so this gets into the whole kind of talk of like, strikeouts obviously happen. They're going to happen at a high rate because these guys are throwing 100 out of the bullpen every single time. It seems like you get a new reliever out there. It's what you do with your at-bats. And we'll get into that because Ellie had some gap power today that we were really excited to see coming back. And we're going to break that down in just a little bit. But Ricky, you have any other thoughts about the ABS system and how it affects the Redlegs or just overall? I thought it was pretty cool. I'm excited for it. The players might not like it, but it should be cool to see as a fan, to see like, and there's that anticipation, kind of like I mentioned about the tennis, where they start to see, ooh, and then if it's a strike or not, they can cheer or not. So I don't know. Any other thoughts for you?
No, I'm just excited. It's just, I love the human element of baseball, but when it's getting to a point to where it's ruining games, like it's a much needed change, and I'm here for it. Yeah.
I mean, we should start seeing those the umpire cards a little bit cleaned up as well, right? Because there's a bunch of people that after games put out the umpiring card because it's kind of like accountability a little bit in that respect, or at least tried. to have accountability. But it should be a lot higher percentages, right? In
I'm
theory.
waiting for the ones where was it Bryce Harper a couple years ago when Angel Hernandez had that strike against him where it was like literally 7 inches off the plate and he called it a strike. Because obviously you don't want to see players like show up the umpire, but it's kind of like, really, dude? It's like I want to see one of those.
Yeah, Angel Hernandez, one of one for sure. I don't think he would have survived the ABS era.
Who's the new one? JB Buckner. He's pretty bad, isn't he?
Yeah, he gets a lot of flack for sure. For sure. I'm sure there's a bunch of people that have when they see guys circle their name and whatnot. So yeah. Yeah. And yeah, speaking of Ellie De La Cruz and his strikeout rate, Ellie, as you wrote, is now visibly stronger. And it's like everyone's raving about it. They're all talking about it, and he's showing off his guns out there in Arizona as well. So that's kind of a thing that maybe he's feeling himself a little bit because he did put on the weight. Jim Day was talking about like Ellie never really worked with weights, which it's not that crazy of a thought because he's thin and super tall, but like never seriously put anything into it. Which, yeah, man. I mean, if you can run and hit like him and still weigh what he was like 205, and now he's up to like 220, I think, or is it? Or am I
217? I think is what it was officially reported at.
Yeah, it helps. And then they were talking about also putting on strength in his legs, which will help endurance because that's the base of any baseball player's swing, of their stamina, of just playing out there 160 plus games. He should be in a spot where he is. I mean, he looks like he's ready to go. If we just going off of small sample size, obviously, and whatnot. But what were your thoughts on seeing Ellie's added 15 pounds?
Just more reasons to get excited about a possible breakout year for Ellie. Like I said, it came in 15 pounds heavier than he did last year. He said he credits a lot of upper body workouts and just eating more. I wish I could just eat more and just get muscle weight put on like that, but he's a lot of people on the team and like media are just like, wow, like this guy is very visibly stronger. I don't know if you've seen any pictures of him, just him sleeveless. It's like, good Lord.
It's all over the socials.
It's all over the socials. Yeah. And it's like him getting stronger and, healthy, hopefully, it's going to be hopefully a career year in home runs. And, with him and Suarez in the lineup, it's just going to be awesome. Having them guys go back to back. I think we're going to see a lot of back to back home runs with those guys this year.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see that every offseason we've seen something with Ellie where he's trying to improve physically as well as playing the game. I remember it was last year, I think it was. He came into camp, I think he came in leaner, and he was working on his like sprint speed and stuff, just trying to keep his hamstrings going, which unfortunately the quad injury kind of hampered that. But it's like every year he's done something to try to improve, whether it's like swing changes or just messing with his body, and just great to see.
Yeah. Oh, to be 24 years old, huh, Ricky? You just eat whatever you want. I mean, he burns it off. He's exercising, I think, a lot every day and all that as well. So that I guess he'd have to, eat even extra just to put on that extra muscle. But also the point that you're making is like what we've been kind of talking about on this show is that he's not fully formed. He's still growing.
He's just 24. He's still got years to grow.
Yeah, not just in his body he's growing, but also in his baseball IQ and his ability to cut down strikeouts, cut down errors. This year, if he makes a leap, hopefully it quiets a lot of the haters that really point out every single error, every single strikeout. Because if he takes the leap that at least his body has taken, if his mind and his baseball IQ takes that leap as well, and he's got now protection, that's the other thing, right? Like, he didn't really have that protection in and around them outside of like Austin Hayes when he was healthy, outside of Andahar when he was healthy, whenever, Benson and Hines were kind of up to possibly be that feared bat. But like, it's like this guy might be, I don't know. I guess if I was Marte and I was Suarez, I'm sitting on those fastballs because they're throwing all the breaking stuff to Ellie because they know if they throw anything in his zone, he's going to kill it. And today again was an example of that. So I don't know exactly how much better he can be, but you can see physically he can be stronger. Physically he can be even better than he was just last year, and that means that he's healthier later in the season because he's got that built up endurance and strength. That's even better, right? Because obviously he had a terrible August, and that was attributed somewhat to an injury. Yeah. But if he can, be like strong physically enough to withstand, because it's a marathon, man. 162 is a marathon. It's kind of crazy what these guys go out there, and obviously they've also been out there saying that he's not going to play 162. But dude, if he's going to be looking like this, he should play 162. What's the downside? But anyway. Yeah,
I like this. Ellie can almost hit the ball out of GABP. Now he might hit one completely out. He looks like a finely tuned athlete. Sky is the limit, man. It's that exactly. I mean, his first career home run was at the top row. So I mean, like he could hit one. He might legitimately hit one in the river on the fly, which has I don't think ever been done. I think Dunn's went center field on a bounce. I mean, Dunn's is the only one that went into a different state, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
I mean, he's jacked, and like he's just 24. I think people forget that because I know like Pirates Twitter, they'll always they'll compare him and O'Neal Cruz. O'Neal Cruz is going to be 28 this year, I believe, and like that's a different thing. Like I think people forget that Ellie's just as young as he is.
Yeah, and he's going into his third full season, but fourth season overall. And we had that weird stat that I threw out there that Ellie turned 23 and 359 days old in January 4th, right? A week before his birthday on January, I think 11th or whatever it is. But Joey Votto was called up when he was 23 years old and 358 days. So Votto was a little bit of a late bloomer. Obviously, he had the longevity to be still a first ballot Hall of Famer for sure, especially the guys that have been getting in lately, like Jeff Kent and whatever. But anyway, it's just kind of like he's early. Like he obviously he had that little injury at the beginning of 23, so he didn't get called up until May, right? Or am I got that wrong?
June.
No, June 6th. He could have got up earlier, right? Is all I'm saying, and obviously that also starts his service time clock. So maybe there's a little bit of
there's probably some things there too. Which they got lucky because Matt McClain was 1 day off.
No, Williamson.
Well, McClain was 1 day for the Super 2, and then Williamson was 1 day of keeping an extra year.
Oh yeah. So yeah, it could have been that could have been Ellie's fate is getting into that Super 2 status or what have you.
We would have been in trouble.
Yeah. We won't talk about his agent right now, but Ellie looked great today. Yeah. So I don't know how much more you want to talk about his looks. I don't know how much oogling and ogling we're gonna do at this point, but he looks good. Yeah. You know what? Ellie should be leading this charge. The old school Reds uniforms, they had the cutoff sleeves, and they kind of brought back a little bit with Puig and Dietrich. They should do the cutoff sleeves. Probably at least just for like a warm up. Well, they do that basketball jersey warm up, so that'll be able to show off his guns in the warm up before games and whatnot. But yeah, they should come up with the cutoff sleeves, the 1940s style Reds jerseys, just for maybe a weekend. Maybe that's the City Connect that we're gonna see. Yeah. So all right. Anything else about Ellie before we get into our first games? This is crazy. The Reds started on Saturday against the Guardians, which is like the same guys that use Goodyear Park as well. So they're both kind of home teams or whatever. Kind of came out to a pretty decent start. Chase Burns was on the mound first. He got out there, did his thing. A bunch of other guys got out there, did their thing. Rhett Lauder and whatnot. Will Benson, Willie Beeman got his home run in there, and that was the only offense, unfortunately, for Saturday. And then today they had a bunch of offense, and then the pitching kind of fell off. I don't know where you want to start, Ricky. I know your article today just came out on Reds at SI. Check that out. Cincinnati Reds on SI. Ricky was talking about how the bullpen fell apart, and that is a bit concerning, especially with some of the guys that are bubble for the 26-man. But yeah, where would you like to start?
Yeah, let's start with yesterday. Kind of a funny lineup with Stevenson leading off. He did get that ripped ball up the middle, so it was good to see him back. And then, of course, Will Benson just taking 1 yard. I don't know how much you follow YouTube or much, but Trevor Bauer put out a video the other day with him and Will Benson. That was cool. Benson took him deep, which you know. I'll say this though, Bauer could. I think he's still got major league stuff. It's just he won't, you know. But and I'm not defending or undefending. I'm just stating.
Well, I'd say Trevor Bauer should get signed by the Guardians so that Will Benson, when he faces the Guardians, could just rip him up there. Because he kills the Guardians. Is
that 4 straight games with a home run against Cleveland? Like,
pretty sure.
Maybe more than that, because he owned them that first series, and he took him deep again in Cleveland. Maybe he didn't homer that second game, but man. And then we saw South Stewart win that challenge. Good to see. I know people are probably going to overreact to Suarez going over 3. Let's see. I think Marte went over 3. It's whatever. It's first game of spring training. It's like it'll be all right, in my opinion. I think I saw a tweet by Zach Cozart, like, you know, you can't judge your favorite player based off spring training stats because, like, you don't know what they're working on. You know, like there's that famous clip of Zach Greinke kind of toying with, I think was it Miguel Rojas? Or it was some Dodgers player that they told him to go up and not to swing. So he was just throwing meatballs at him the whole time. It's just like, you're not going to swing. I'm going to throw it like 88 down the middle. Just dare you to swing at it. And like I said, like Votto was like notorious for batting like a $110 in spring training. And then as soon as the season starts, he's like at like 600 through the first couple weeks. But yeah, that first game, I think Burns looked really good. He did kind of struggle with a couple walks. And then like Rhett Lauder looked really good. I think Julian Aguilar got some time pitching too. He had a couple strikeouts, 2 hits allowed. And then what was it? Danner and McCaughan pitched, I think, the last 2, which unfortunately I did miss that game. I kind of caught up with it a little bit on some highlights, but yeah, what are your takeaways from that? Because someone that's watched the game.
Yeah, I was watching it up until I think the 7th or 8th and whatnot. But the pitching looked on point. It looked pretty good. Obviously, there were some little control issues with Burns. I was texting you throughout that, so I'm looking back through our text history on my notes, basically, on that. I put out there also Ty Steve was looking good. You said that he had that rip single. I think it was even more impressive because he got a fly out to center, the warning track at 106 off the bat. So that looked like, you know, I don't know, we're talking about X velocity and all that stuff, but like just getting out there and getting your bat on the ball is the point, right? Getting your eye on the ball and being able to turn it around and hit it line drives, as Chris Felica would say. But you know, like it was decent, like to see him out there. Like you had mentioned the lineup was really kind of weird, having Ty Steves lead off and whatnot, and it was kind of like the prove it team because there's a bunch of guys that are fighting for spots. Benson, Dane Myers, want to say I had the Talia. So like it wasn't like, you know, the guys that we saw today, and I kind of have a take about the lineup today and whatnot. But yeah, I put in my notes when I texted you, the cameramen are also in spring training as well, because Edwin Arroyo had a possibility to end the inning, I think a second or third, by getting a force out at second. Cameraman went there as if that was going to happen, but he bobbled it. So then he had to make up time and take the throw to first. I have no idea if he was out or not. The announcer said he was, but the camera did not show that. So I was kind of like left it like, oh, okay. And there was a couple other moments where they're working through their spring training struggles as well. So it's not just the players out in the field; it's also the cameramen and maybe even the announcers at times. But speaking of Arroyo looked comfortable, and it wasn't like obviously he bobbled that ball that I said that he ended up making up for it by getting the guy out first. But at the plate, he looked comfortable. I'm really interested to see how he does in the World Baseball Classic. I think he's going to get a lot of time now, like before he has to leave in probably a week to go play for Puerto Rico. So, like, that'll be interesting to see and how comfortable he looks in the next couple games or his next couple at bats, whatever it ends up being. But defensively, he seems solid. He ripped that double, and then Benson followed up with a homer. So, like, I think I'm pretty comfortable in saying, and I think you had said it, that probably Arroyo is going to be one of the first guys called up out of the guys that, like, H-Rod, him, Balcazar. So, like, that seems like not a sure thing, but, like, he could be the Espinal guy who's off the bench and plays all the infield and whatnot. So,
I got some things on Arroyo. I got some thoughts, I guess I should say. I think what you're alluding to is that Kylie McDaniel article for the ESPN's top 10 or top 30, whatever it was, their top prospects. He had Hector Rodriguez as like the next guy up, like the first to be promoted, I guess is like the correct phrasing. But like to me, it just doesn't make sense. Like obviously, like talent wise, like Rodriguez has the talent to be the first one promoted. Like I just don't think they rush him, especially with all the outfield depth that they added this year. You go and you get like a Tolia who can play the outfield. You go get Dane Myers. You go get JJ Plade. You still have Blake Dunn. You still have Reese Hines. You got Will Benson. And like all of those guys have options, So it's like there's really no need to force Rodriguez up unless there's like 5 guys that get hurt, which could happen. But then you've also got Spencer Steer who can just be slid out to left field. And that works. Like with Arroyo, like the infield depth isn't like the strong suit of the team. Like they have some depth, but like a lot of the depth is just rotational pieces that can be moved around. So God forbid something happens to Ellie. You could slide McLean over to short, put Steer at second, then you got Stewart at first, Key Brian Hayes at third, and then you got the DH being Suarez. But like if you had to do something, like you could bring up Edwin Arroyo and you can keep the infield the same, and you can just have a sure glove defense guy at third, at second, or short and third, and second base with McLean still really good too defensively. Like that would be a defensive first infield. But yeah, it's like I think you had kept up with this Winter League stuff. He hit 355 with 6 extra base hits in the Winter League. And he told Charlie Goldsmith that he made some adjustments to kind of put the ball in the air more. And he said he had a lot of hits last year. He'd like to have more doubles and triples and homers. He said it's coming. I won't force it. It'll happen if I put the ball in the air more, which that's kind of cool to hear. Just kind of the opposite approach of what we've been hearing from Reds hitting coaches and stuff. But yeah, and then like you said, him being on the Winter League team, that's just not the Winter League, the World Baseball Classic. Getting that shot with Lindor being hurt. It's unfortunate for Lindor, but it's also very fortunate for us to get to see Edwin Arroyo play some really good talent on that team. And yeah, I mean, he's excited. We're excited. I think he's going to prove to a lot of Reds fans that wanted to see him traded because they didn't see a need for him. And if the time comes, I think he's going to really put the doubters at ease. Just I think he's got the talent. And I don't know if did you see that a piece that was put out about Suarez had mentioned about Suarez saying that Arroyo saying Suarez says that he could see Arroyo being a future superstar. Like I think people forget when Suarez was traded to Seattle, he got to spend time with Arroyo and Noel V. Marte. So like he knows these guys from before. And like if there's anybody that I trust that thinks a player is going to be good, it's going to be Suarez. Like I should get everybody excited.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a vote of confidence is nice. And this is the nice thing about spring training. You had mentioned Suarez kind of struggling, and he even got beat out by a decent play at short from the Guardians shortstop. I forget his name. And he didn't leg it out, or at least maybe he was going maybe 75%. So that's good because we don't want any hammies or anything with him going into the World Baseball Classic. I'm not really worried about him if he goes 0 for 15 even in the time before he reports for Venezuela, because we kind of know what he's about. And maybe he's taking a different approach because he's trying to work on something really, different at that time and whatnot. But I'm sure he'll get a hold of a couple before he leaves to report for the World Baseball Classic. So no worries there. On Saturday, the pitching was great. It was basically kind of a exhibition for Burns and Louder to see who wants to be the fifth guy. And I think they both performed pretty well. And even Aguiar, I guess, as well, could be in that conversation potentially as a dark horse candidate. But Burns, like I said, he missed a little high on some pitches and whatnot, but settled in well, didn't give up anything. 2 strikeouts. I thought Lauder was even more impressive because he commanded the strike zone with different off-speed pitches and fastballs, and struck out J-Ram and made him look like he was not really ready to go in spring training. So that was really impressive to see that, especially out of Lauder, who missed, if anything, all of 2025, except for a couple rehab starts and the Arizona Fall League. I'm really kind of confident on him possibly being the fifth guy. I know that's controversial because everybody wants Chase Burns, but I don't know. I'm okay with Lauder being that fifth guy. If he's ready to go, his body feels good, and the pitching staff is confident in him, I have no problem with him being the fifth guy.
Yeah, I mean, Louder was on track to be the fifth starter last year coming into the year before he had that injury in spring training. And which was funny because what would they have done with Abbott at that point? Because that was really the issue. Like, they had their front four basically set up. It was Green, Lodolo, Singer, and then they had somebody else.
Williamson?
I think so. And then Spires ended up being the fifth guy.
We're talking about last year. Sorry.
Yeah. Spires was the fifth guy. Maybe they would have had Abbott wouldn't have been an issue. I think it was the Abbott injury which made it an issue. Who was their first 4 starters last year? Why am I blanking on this?
Singer, Hunter, Nick Martinez.
That's who I'm thinking of. Yeah. So they had Abbott was kind of fighting for that fifth spot with Louder, and then Louder had the injury, and then Abbott goes out and becomes an all-star and kind of just says, "Hey, I'm I'm more than a fifth guy. I'm a front end of the rotation guy." Yeah. And maybe Louder kind of takes that to his heart and goes out this year and earns that fifth spot. And that's no knock on Burns, because I think Burns has front of the rotation stuff. It's just you only have so many spots for so many guys, and I think people are just kind of underestimating how good Louder can be. I mean, we saw when he came up in 24, what do you have, a 1.17 ERA, like a less than 1 WHIP. Like, he was unbelievable in his first few starts in Major League Baseball. It was just the injury last year, and Burns just came up and set the world on fire in that first start. But I mean, yeah, talent-wise, Burns has the stuff, but Louder's a really good pitcher.
Yeah, and his stuff is nasty too. He's not he's not finessing anyway. But
no, he's throwing in mid 90s, high 90s, good slider, good changeup. Like, he's got the stuff too, but he doesn't have the 102 mile per hour fastball and the slider like Burns does.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's a good problem to have. You can't have enough pitching, especially starting pitching. So that's awesome to see that. And yeah, for sure, Ronnie, cameramen have been really working through their struggles. Like I said, it's preseason for them too, so they can work it out. Any other thoughts on the Saturday game before we get into the Sunday one?
Yeah.
Sunday was a totally different story. The pitching started decent, but fell apart. The offense, though, which I think maybe where you want to start, came out cooking. It was great to see a 6-run second, or a 6-hit, 5-run second inning, I want to say, and then a bunch of guys just ripping the ball everywhere. Love to see it. Velika was loving the line drives. He was definitely, high-fiving everybody extra hard after all that stuff. So I guess where do you want to start on Sunday, Ricky? There's so many guys that had a great day at the plate.
Yeah. I mean, Friedel goes 1 for 2 with 2 RBIs. McClain goes 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. Ellie goes 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. Like, that should fire everybody up. I mean, obviously, you don't want to take too much into spring training, but if we're seeing McClain hit the ball hard and it's landing in places, like, do we get 2023 McClain back? Like, that's exciting because they did have him at the 2-hole in this game. So kind of maybe a little teaser because this kind of seemed like the A lineup a little bit with Friedel, McLean, Ellie, Suarez, Steer being like the guys. I think Trevino got some time in there too.
Mm-hmm.
Keem Hayes batting 7th, I believe, that was kind of funny. And then they had Blade and Hines as your bottom of the order. I mean, Hines has looked really good. Hines went 2 for 2. He's also scored 2 runs, and then Keem Hayes went 1 for 3, scored a run. I mean, offense was on fire. Like you said, you scored 8 runs through 4 innings, but then obviously you're kind of wanting to see what you have, so you mix and match at the end of the game. Don't score a run the rest of the game. The bullpen just completely falls apart. I think Seattle scored 12 unanswered runs from the 5th inning on, and it was just it was just awful after that. I have some numbers pulled up. It just Connor Phillips really struggled that first inning that he got the pitch. When you really got to see like the bullpen guys that are really fighting for a spot, you get Connor Phillips in. I think he only pitched 2/3 of an inning. He got Cal Raleigh to pop up, and then Julio Rodriguez singled, and then he got a line out off of Josh Naylor, and then he walks Randy Arozarena, and then he gives up a single that scored the runner. I think it was a pinch runner for Rodriguez, and then he walked Michael Arroyo and Will Wilson, and that scored another run. And then Leon Richardson pitched in the 7th inning, I think. He gave up a single, and then he walked Brennan Davis, allowed another single off of Blake Rambush. That scored a run, and then he allowed another single, and then that's when the Reds had a 1-run lead. And then he forced a double play and then a ground out at the end of the inning. He gave up 3 hits, 2 runs, and a walk in his 1 inning. Zach Maxwell and Luis May I think they were the only 2 guys that really get a strikeout out of those 4 guys. Maxwell had a great start. He got a ground out and a strikeout, and then he walked the next 4 guys. One being on a failed challenge attempt by Connor Burns. And then Luis May relieved him, got a strikeout the end of inning. And then May came back out the next inning, and he allowed back-to-back doubles and a single and then a walk before he got an out. And then he got a single, and then he was relieved by a pitcher. And then he gave up a 3-run homer when May got taken out. So all those runs went to May, and I think he pitched a total of, I have that number here. He went 2/3 of an inning, 4 hits, 5 runs, a walk, and a strikeout. So, so out of those 4 guys, 2 strikeouts, 2, 5, 6, 9 walks, 12 runs.
I mean, no other way to really slice it, but it's basically bad.
and Francona had some comments after the game too. He said, early on our guys were fine. It went bad from there. I know it's early, no matter what time of the year it is. That's a hard way to win. If that's during the season, I'm really upset. Since it's February, I'm just really aggravated. Yeah,
man. Here you go. He's not gonna not tell people what's on his mind, but at the same time, like I was seeing some stuff about like Tito's gonna like be real strict with these guys in terms of like if you're not performing even in spring training, you're gonna get the door like Alexis Diaz. And like the Alexis Diaz thing's a little bit more than just he wasn't performing.
That was a little different.
His velocity was down. He wasn't obviously as effective. Like there was a whole lot of different stuff going on with Alexis Diaz.
Diaz, like he could never find the strike zone anyway when his velocity was up. Like I think it was Trace Fowler. He was like, if they don't chase the slider, they're walking every time because like you can sit on the fastball and watch the slider because his slider is never in the strike zone. And I kind of fear that with Luis May and Zach Maxwell just because their fastballs are so electric. They just have no command of any of their other pitches. But they're also this is like their first real test in the majors. As with Diaz, he had a couple years in, and he was a little older too compared to these two guys. And I just think that Maxwell and May have better stuff, and they have so much control left. I just don't think they're going to do that with them. And then Connor Phillips, I think like with him, he has always shown like the inability to be consistent all the time. But we saw the stretch last year coming down the stretch towards the playoffs where, I think he had like a 10 inning scoreless streak in September. And he was just electric. He does have the pitch mix, I think, to be an effective late inning reliever. But like we saw the inconsistency in this game. But granted, it was his first time out in a game, like with all of these guys, their first time out in a game really since August or September in Major League Baseball. Because I think May got sent down relatively earlier last year. Maxwell got some time at the end of the year. I think he made his debut in Arizona versus the Diamondbacks. So, like, and they're still all three very young pitchers. Like, Lyon Richardson's a little different. He's got a little bit more experience, both in age and in just pitching Major League Baseball. But Lyon Richardson's still learning, like, we saw a lot from Lyon last year where, there was a game in Houston. I vividly remember where he finally, I thought he was putting it together. He threw a fastball on the outside corner at 96, and then the next pitch was a changeup at 83 on the same spot. It's like that, when you're doing that, like you can be a really effective reliever. And it's just, he did that, like, I think it was 2 innings of work he did that. I was like, man, this guy, he's putting it together. And I remember Tito really commended him a couple times throughout the year. He got special treatment for the Bristol game. He got the private charter back with the with the commissioner. So like, I feel confident about all 4 of these guys. Obviously, I think there's legitimately 2 spots that are open, and I think Sam Maul probably gets one of those just based off of not having any options and being a lefty. But they also have 2 lefties that they acquired this offseason too, and in Brock Burke and Caleb Ferguson. So there may not be a necessity for Sam Maul, but yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts? Because like that was a brutal outing.
Yeah, you nailed most of the points I was kind of thinking in my head. The only thing that really would be concerning is if it is command issues, persistent command issues, like it's just not one outing and they figure out the grip on the ball or whatever that was going on down there. Obviously, those guys are young, and May and Maxwell, mostly kind of May, has more kind of been having those kind of command issues. So that is something to kind of keep an eye on. But because it's spring training, I don't think we can put like, overreaction type of putting our like, oh, these guys are done for and whatnot. That's why I was like the Alexis Diaz comparison of like, Francona's not going to mess around with these guys if they can't throw strikes. Like, dude, like you said, most of them are 24 or younger. So like they got some time. Like Alexis Diaz was he was on some sort of weird, and even now, like he got DFA'd from the Dodgers and whatnot. He's not at his peak anymore, unfortunately. He has good years in 2023. He had that All-Star year for the Reds, so thank you for your service in that, Alexis. But it's kind of been a drop-off for him since that. So I'm only worried about those young guys and if it's command issues going forward. And like you said, they got options, so they can figure out that command stuff in AAA as well. So there's no real huge concern. It stinks because of all those walks you talked about, all those home runs and hits they give up. It's kind of crazy that it all happened at the same time. But, that's what spring training's for. You figure some stuff out. There was, that question. Well, we can get to that in the playoffs and whatnot. But just to answer it quickly, I think 90 wins is what they need to get if they want to be a serious playoff team. And then there's also that Pacoda Fangraph stuff with like the stinking, like the Pirates are going to have 40% chance of making the playoffs and the Reds have 20. Like, get out of here with that, man. There was that clip that went around, Steve Phillips from Hot Stove on MLB Network saying that the Reds are better than a 79 to 80 win team. And if they play, and now this is the thing about baseball, if they play to their potential, they're a 90 win team, I think is what Steve Phillips is saying. So I don't think he buys into that Pacoda Fangraph stuff either. So shout out to Steve Phillips.
Yeah, I think one thing that doesn't get accounted for in those kind of projections is who your manager is. You know, like I don't know who the Pirates manager is, but he's no Tito Francona. I mean, there was when Francona came to Cleveland, like they were kind of like hit and miss every other year. I think the year before they were close to a playoff team, or they had like 80 something wins, and then he kind of put them over the top. I think just he knows how to manage a bullpen. He knows how to manage his starters. He knows how to get the most out of his starters. You know, like I don't think even with the amount of years that they've been pitching, I don't think that had David Bell been the manager this past year, I don't think Abbott goes out and gets a complete game. I don't think Lodolo goes out and gets 2 complete games with one being a shutout. I don't think Hunter Green, maybe he stays out because he had a no-hitter, you know, but we've seen him have a no-hitter before and he gets taken out, and they still throw a combined no-hitter and they lose, you know. So I don't know how I don't know if they account for like who's managing. I think they're kind of like taking into account of like. I think Paul Skeens gets a little bit of like, yeah, they got Paul Skeens, you know, but outside of Paul Skeens, like they have like a pretty decent rotation. Like the Reds, top to bottom, I think have the best rotation in the Central, you know, and when ESPN said they had a bottom 5 rotation, it's like, do you even watch baseball? Like, come on, like what are they like? What are these people seeing before they put stuff out publicly like that? Bottom 5 rotation. It's like I can give you that if you have 4 starters for the Reds and everybody else has 5. You know, because we don't have the 5th guy set yet. But like you're telling me Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Andrew Abbott, and Brady Singer are a bottom 5 rotation. It's just asinine. It's just that's crazy to say that publicly. Like they may not be top 5. I think they are, but you know, you can't say they're bottom 5. At worst, they're league average. But then like that's if Hunter Green misses multiple games, and that's if Lodolo misses a lot of games, and that's if Abbott misses a lot of games, and Singer gets traded. You know, it's like Singer. I'm done. Just I'll go on a rant. I'll go on a tangent.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that's hopefully we won't be hearing about that bottom 5 comment anymore. But you never know; might get popped up maybe when we want to slander ESPN.
But I guess going back to the Pet Coda stuff, like I think just the Pirates having Paul Skeens gives them kind of a leg up in projections. But Paul Skeens has he ever? I don't think he's thrown a complete game yet. He's still kind of been on innings limits his career so far. Is it Jones? Is there other pitcher? I think.
Yeah.
I'm not a Pirates show.
Yeah, Bubba
but like
Chandler,
I think he's the only one he's the lefty, I believe. Like that's the only other pitcher that I can really say like, hey, that guy's pretty decent. And then I don't think their bullpen's really great, and I don't think they have a really good closer. And offensively, like, is Marcelo Ozuna really going to want to play in Pittsburgh like he wanted to play in Atlanta? I remember there was some rumors going around that if he got traded, he was contemplating retirement because he didn't want to play for another team. Now, granted, you go out there, you get a contract by somebody, and they probably overpaid for him because they tried to overpay for every other player they tried to get this offseason and failed because nobody wants to have the Pittsburgh Pirates name on their chest. But
yeah, well, we're not Pirates show. We'll clip that. But anyway, getting back to the Reds, the pitching was disappointing. A bunch of stuff that you already gone through, and May struggling, Maxwell struggling, Phillips even struggling. So hopefully that's kind of a one-off. I didn't really look into this, but I was kind of wondering why Jose Franco only got 1 inning. I don't know if something happened. Maybe he didn't feel strong enough to go out there. I thought because he started, he'd do the obligatory 2 innings, but maybe there's something going on there. Maybe he's trying to be precaution because he did give up a run, I think, and 3 hits in his 1 inning. You must be reading my notes because I remember you said 2023 McLean is back. So I was like, hey, That's what we like to see. It's like a hard hitting, just gap power type stuff. Same thing goes for JJ Bleday as well, and Ellie De La Cruz, both hitting the ball well. Bleday, I guess, was clocked 108 off the bat for his double. It was 112 off the bat for Ellie De La Cruz, and that's what we had talked about in terms of like we're not wanting Ellie De La Cruz to hit like 60 home runs or whatever, right? Or 49 home runs like a Suarez, right? We don't think he's built for that. But if he's going to be a gap, to gap type power hitter and gets around the bases and can turn doubles into triples because either the outfield misplays the ball or whatever it ends up being, right? Or just his speed to get there or hit caroms off the wall weird. Like that's what we saw in 2023, right? And that's what the Ellie we want to get back to. It's just being able to just go out there and put on a show, because like a lot of people say the most exciting play in baseball is the triple because it's a man racing against the defense to get 3 bags, and it's hard to do. You know what I mean? Like triples are not every single day occurrence. So hopefully that's what we're in store for Ellie De La Cruz and company, because you wrote it out there. Like a bunch of guys got in there. Even Friedel got in the act with getting stuff. So I don't know. It's definitely interesting to see spring training stuff like this, because I don't know. I got to take about that. I don't know if I want to save it for later or we can get into that. But do you have any other thoughts about Sunday's game?
No, just it was nice to see the offense going.
Yeah, for sure. Carrick's got a question there. Unless he misunderstood, they mentioned the radio broadcast. They expected Franco to be a reliever. We had talked about this, and even Carrick and I going back and forth and what we were kind of thinking Franco's role would be. If he is a reliever, it was interesting to start him. I guess, it doesn't matter, spring training in that respect. But I was kind of wondering if they were trying to stretch him out to see what he's got. Because, I mean, there was that talk of, Chase Burns being like the long reliever, the Nick Martinez role, if you will. And then I heard a podcast, I think Greg Kuffner was going like, no, don't do that. Don't put him in the reliever role because Greg believes that he's got starter stuff. And if you put him in that reliever role, he might get, pigeonholed in there and he won't ever get the chance to start games. And I kind of feel a little bit the same way at Jose Franco. I believe he'll probably be in AAA is my understanding, based on what we got up here at the majors. So I would like to see Jose Franco pitching as much as he can. If he isn't to be a starter and a reliever is more of his role that he's comfortable with and he's talking to, the pitching staff about, that so be it. You know what I mean? But I thought he was a decent – he was the pitcher of the year for the minor league system, right, in 2025? Yeah. I believe so. I was hoping he'd get at least 2 innings today. So I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
I think the AAA rotation is going to be really good too. I think if I had to guess, I would believe that we're going to see at least Williamson. I think Franco goes down there too. I think he gets optioned down, and he's going to be. I think he's going to be a starter down there, and then either one of Louder or Burns is going to be down there too.
Chase Petty, right?
Chase Petty. And there's been some people, especially Francona, that's been kind of higher on Petty this offseason. I think he's been working on his pitches. I think he added a pitch or substituted a pitch or whatever it may be. But yeah, I do like that. I could see him eventually transitioning into a reliever, but he did have Tommy John a couple years ago, and I think they've been kind of careful with him ever since. And I don't think he pitched more than 4 innings last year in AAA, but he was dominant when he pitched. So maybe this is the year they kind of send him down, let him get the whole year down there, because I think he got promoted later in the season. So maybe he gets that full year down there to like really stretch into like a 6-inning guy. And if that doesn't work, then you can transition him into a reliever. And he's got an electric fastball, a good slider, and a good changeup. Like that could be back of the bullpen type stuff too, which the Reds really don't have a shortage of as far as like young pitchers. So yeah, it's a possibility, but I just don't think it's gonna be right away.
Yeah, for sure. You're right. There is gonna be a lot of competition at AAA, which is one step away from the majors. So hopefully that would be good to breed the best out of all these guys going out there and hopefully getting better every day, playing for the bats, or if they are called up to the majors, hopefully they'll be able to be ready and do great. And I think Carrick's putting in his starting five at AAA. He's got Williamson, Lauder, Petty, Franco, Aguiar. Yeah, Aguiar as well, Cardona, and Acuna. And I forgot about Jose Acuna. He was at Chattanooga, I believe, last year. So, yeah, the next logical – he had a pretty good season there. So that would be nice to see him up at AAA with the bats. So,
And
shout
we're
out to
probably
those
going to
guys.
see Trevor Consul probably as in the bullpen adapt there too, just based off the year he had in Double A last year.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll get into some more minor league camp invitees later in the show. They released all those guys out there. It's kind of cool to see those guys out there, and some notable guys that weren't out there. I had some messages back and forth when I sent it to Carrick after Charlie G posted it. Some different names I got left off that, maybe the Reds don't think that they'd be ready to come to camp yet. They'll be better off somewhere else, ACL or where have you. So, but yeah, any other thoughts on the two games this weekend? It was good to see Reds baseball, I guess, overall.
Yeah, it was just good to see
sort of
live baseball.
Yeah. They got the off day tomorrow, and then back at it Tuesday. I believe just on the radio, like I said at the beginning of the show today, kind of lamenting that they're not streamed at all. I think they don't come back to streaming until Saturday the 28th. So you got to get out your radio, listen to Tommy Thrall. And I think it was Jim Day today, because I guess Jeff Brantley had some family things going on. So he'll hopefully be back on Tuesday to broadcast from 700 WLW. So, but yeah, Ricky, you had written for Reds on SI about two guys who are coming into this year, hopefully going to be major factors for this ball club at the major league level, and two guys that we really, really like and really rooting for, Salbert and Noelvi Marte. And both of those guys, I don't know which one you want to go with first to talk about. Both of those guys, Sal a little bit less so, have a defined role on the team. It seems like the starting right field every single day for the most part is going to be Noelvi Marte, unless something happens or he needs rest or injury or what have you. And it seems like Sal is going to be a guy that will play anywhere just to get at bats, first, second, maybe even third when Key Brian Hayes is out for whatever reason. So I don't know, whichever one you want to go with. Both of these guys have big goals and big plans for 2026, and we'd love to see it if they can achieve those goals.
Yeah, we'll start with Sal because I like his comments that he had. I can't remember who he talked to. I want to say it was Daneman. I think. Daneman of
the Local 12 guy.
Local 12, yeah. He said they asked him about like how it feels coming into camp, knowing that he's got a role and he's got he's kind of earned it. And he said, I never want something to be given to me. When I signed, I told everyone I'm going to go earn whatever I get. My mindset is always that I haven't gotten anything. I haven't earned anything. So I kind of approach that every day like that. I just proved to myself that who I am is enough. I proved to myself that I can really hit at this level. I proved to myself that I can take in that environment and I can thrive in that environment, but I still haven't earned anything. Like that. I don't know about you, but that quote gets me excited because he's like, as a young guy, he's like, what, 20, just turned 22, I think, or he's still 21. To have that mindset that, like, yeah, you've made it to Major League Baseball, but, like, you want more than what you have. And, like, he's probably going to be an opening day starter, probably at first base, if I had to guess. And, he's got Tito behind him. Tito's really excited about him being able to play second base, play first base, play third base, DH if he has to, just to get at bats. And then, it's like if you have a guy like his talent acting like that, that gets me really excited. For
sure. Yeah, Sal. They all have been talking about his weight loss as well. That he's like really committed now pounds. Really committed now to just like Ellie in the other way of adding muscle. Sal's cut down a little bit on his weight, and that shows that he's committed to this team even more so in that respect, which would be great. Hopefully that translates well to whatever, if he's playing second base, a little bit more mobility maybe, right? Or being able to cover the bag even more so at first base with a little bit more quickness maybe, or just getting down the line beating out some more infield hits and whatnot. So we'll see. That'll be awesome to see if it does do well. I don't know, man, if he is the opening day starter, to be honest with you. I know there's a lot of buzz around him. I know they don't want to put him just in the DH role as well, just to limit him, and they want him to be able to get out there and whatnot. I'm just worried about where the at-bats are going to come from. If it is at first base, awesome. If it's at second base, awesome. I don't know exactly how many days Ke'Bryan Hayes is going to be taken out of the lineup, because obviously fans will say we want him at third base, South Stu, that is, because then he's able to learn the third base position, where I think he played a lot in minors. And then also he have his bat every single day. But there's that run prevention thing that Tito likes to do, and Ke'Bryan Hayes fits into that plan. But that's neither here nor there. The point I'm trying to say is that Sal seems to be willing and able to do whatever it takes to get on that field. And hopefully that's rewarded with playing time, wherever that is. And I'm excited to see him out there. Like I said, I was there at September 1st, his call-up, and his energy made the team that much more exciting on his first day in the majors, right? So it's not like this guy is just going to be going out there putting his head down if he doesn't get playing time. I think he's going to still bring that same energy every single day.
Yeah, and limited at bats, he led the team in home runs that month. That tells you. And you mentioned him losing weight. He dropped 26 pounds, and he talked to Danneman more about that too. He said, "My dream is to go out there and play for 20 years, so that in 20 years people can still have my jersey on, and then I want to take care of my family. I want them to have to never work again. I want to take care of my sister, my girlfriend, everyone around me. So I feel like trimming down was just best for me and my extremities and keeping me healthy. And the best availability is availability." So that just he seems very mature as a player, just for how young he is. And I think that's just, if we get 20 years out of South Stewart, granted that probably not all of them in Cincinnati, but if we get a career like that out of South Stewart, obviously, I think people forget that the only reason we were able to draft South Stewart is because we didn't sign Nick Castellanos. Like, he was the comp pick that we got for Castellanos going to Philadelphia. So, yeah, I put in the article on SI. I just think like he can be a legitimate Rookie of the Year candidate if he goes out there and he plays.
Yeah, I think Vegas also has him high up there on the rookie leaderboard. They also got that Pittsburgh Pirates guy. We keep talking about Pirates. This is kind of getting away from us. But anyway, yeah, Sal's too. Ready, rocking, and ready to go. It hasn't had really the sparkling debut. He started at second base. I guess this is just coming to mind. I think the first game, because it was on TV, obviously. He looked a little shaky. Obviously, he got the ABS walk, but when he's playing second, covering second on, I think, a Will Banfield, I think was the catcher, trying to throw a guy out. He missed the ball, bounced up, but he kind of got lucky because the guy got called out at the plate for a third strike, and then he also stepped across the plate, so he interfered with Banfield, even though he didn't touch Banfield, so it ended the inning. So Salsu kind of got away for that. Then a little bit later, not trying to shout out ex-Reds all the time, but Stuart Fairchild robbed, I forget who it was, maybe H-Rod or somebody like that, robbed him completely, and then threw out Sal Stewart because Sal rounded second, had to come back and touch second, and got doubled off at first. So that's the most sparkling debut. Maybe his huge energy, maybe he's got to be tamped down a bit. Maybe he's got to get that more focused energy and whatnot going on. But I mean, obviously Stuart Fairchild made a great catch and a great throw to get Sal Stewart double off at first.
Yeah, and scouts have said that like his worst position defensively is second base. I think he originally came up as a second baseman, then he transitioned to third. And then when the Reds got Ke'Bryan Hayes, it kind of just threw a wrench into that plan. And granted, that might not be a bad thing. I mean, if he can really take this first base role to heart, Salbert could become a reality.
For sure. So like Carrick said, it was Marte off the bat. They got robbed by Stuart Fairchild.
Yeah.
And Stuart Fairchild we might see him in the season if the Guardians call him up. He's in their minor league system, I believe, a minor league contract. So we'll see if he makes it out of camp there in Cleveland. We might be seeing him a little bit more.
Hopefully he doesn't have a Will Benson career against us.
Yeah, that would be bad. But yeah, speaking of Marte, your guy Marte also is going into right field full time. I think that's going to give him a lot of confidence in terms of having a set position, even though he did just learn it last year on the fly. But he should be in a major way. Didn't necessarily have a sparkling debut as well. I think you'd mentioned he went 0 for 3 on Saturday. So, and that's, spring training. I'm sure hopefully he'll get around to, hitting the ball really hard like Ellie and JJ Bleday did today. And then we can get more excited about the Noev and Marte starting right field position and just playing there. I guess here's a quick question for you, Ricky. How many games does your guy Marte play in right field in 2026? Or the outfield as well, because they put him at center too.
Yeah, so I think if he plays every day, doesn't have any injuries, I think he plays 150, 156 games. And I think they're all in the outfield, unless they sprinkle in a DH every once in a while to give him like that day off kind of thing. But I think they have I might maybe less depending on splits, because he does struggle more against lefties, and Benson. Him and Benson could play versus righties, and then maybe they throw in JJ Bleday out there against lefties, just because Bleday hits lefties better. I did see a comment on a Facebook post that I put out there. You can't have Bleday and Benson. It's like, yeah, you can. They both do different things. Bleday hits lefties and Benson hits righties. So, I mean, you have a need for both of those guys, just like Reese Hines hits righties and Marte hits righties. So that you could have a righty-heavy lineup and a lefty-heavy lineup, and they can do damage against both sides. But, Marte, I think he plays at least 80% of his games out in the outfield.
Yeah, I can see that. If 156 games or so, or 150 games, I think he's having like an all-star level season, I think. And we talked about that way back.
I think that was one of my hot takes a few shows ago, was all-star Marte.
Yeah.
And if it's not, I'll say it now.
I think we had put out just hot takes in terms of like number of all-stars, and I think I can't exactly. I feel like 5. I think I said the Reds would have 5 in 2026. Maybe like Ellie, Hunter, Abbott, Marte, and then I forget the 5th. Probably somebody that will,
like Pagan or something.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It could be. Somebody in the bullpen could have a good year coming out. But yeah, Marte. I think he's the guy that's going to benefit the most, also from the protection from Ellie and Suarez, so to speak. Like he in that 2-hole, I think, is where a lot of people are predicting, and hopefully it is, with that left, right, left thing that Tito is in love with still, to start off the lineup. Love to see Marte see a lot more fastballs and crush them wherever he hits them, because he's a guy that hits line drives, right? He's the Velika wet dream in terms of that, because he's got great bat speed and he hits it hard on a line drive. So he is the guy that you want in that 2-hole, hopefully getting some really quality at bats out of there.
Yeah. He spoke to Jeremy Rock. Is it Jeremy Rauch of Fox 19? Yeah. They asked him about his move to the outfield last year, and he said that his season-saving catch was one of the most emotional moments of his career. He said it also gave him more time to think about his approach at the plate. He said, he only played in 52 games last year in the outfield, and that was after moving from third base. Which, when he came over from Seattle, he was a shortstop. He comes up with the Reds, gets moved to third, and I think he just had a case of the yips. I mean, we saw it with Rick Ankiel back in the day with the Cardinals. Stud pitcher, forgets how to find the strike zone, transitions, becomes an outfielder, and just rakes. He hit 261 with 7 home runs in his time in the outfield, and like we said, he had that just phenomenal catch to save the season. And I think what gets lost in that too is that being a third baseman, you have to have one of the stronger arms in the infield. So putting him in the outfield, he's already got a strong arm. And we've seen him throw guys out at the plate already and make, outfield assists. So that's awesome. He's also a really good runner, and just having him being able to play center field also, give Friedel days off, that's going to be a game changer. Putting Marte in center, then you can have Bleday and Hines in the outfield, or Bleday and Dane Myers in the outfield, or Will Benson and Spencer Steer. Just one of you can mix and match the outfield, and like Benson can play center field. But yeah, I'm excited about Marte just finally having a position that's his. We know it's his basically, and I mean he won the home run derby in the off season of that celebrity event. So like, he's got power. It's just he's got to put it together. He's got to get those line drives lifted up a little bit. But man, I think my hot take for this is I think he's going to be the team MVP this year.
All right, that's good. I like that. I like that a lot. Also, what gets lost a lot with that amazing catch. They said it was the most emotional part of his career. That was out number 2, and before that, he got the first out of the inning. So just think about that. He got all 3 outs of that inning, and the first one I think was an easy fly out. Second one, obviously, the amazing catch that saves the season. He's got to come down from that emotional high, that crazy saving the season catch to get the third out. Like I think I said it when we first saw it. It's like I would have been completely like forgiving of him if he dropped the third out because like he caught the one that you're not supposed to.
Right.
Like to just compose yourself and be like, okay, he got all 3 outs that inning. He saved the season not just by getting that famous catch. He got all 3 outs of that inning. So like, Brian Reynolds, sorry man, but Marte got the best of you on that day.
And shout out to the fan that got out of his way to make him have that catch too. Just that gets lost.
That's huge. Yeah. That is that challengeable? Is that a thing where like if they go look back, I can't remember if that's like one of the things that it go.
I think they could look at fan interference calls, yeah. But he made sure to nope, not me.
Yeah. See, Cincinnati fans, we got we're out there. We're not just going out there and eating Gouda cheese and La Rosas and Sky Roses all day, and we know our baseball.
Yeah.
So,
speaking
all right. Any
of
other
that,
thoughts?
did you see the? I forget where it was. I'll have to find it. But the top 10 most winningest franchises of all time. The Reds were 6th.
Yeah, the Reds are one of 12 franchises that have above 500 record for their whole existence, and that's hard to do because baseball is not a forgiving sport. You know what I mean? Like there's some teams that they have really bad years for a long time and probably will never get over 500, like the Marlins for one. The Rockies are in that category now, but I feel like they were in the above the 500 unless I misread the graphic. So yeah, that was kind of crazy to see that the Reds have had a winning existence ever since. How far did that go back? Does it go back all the way to the 1869 team?
I don't think so. I think it goes back to the official like MLB time, I think.
Because that team was 45-0, man. Like that's good. that team beat everybody by like 50 runs. That first professional team because they were playing a bunch of amateurs. You know what I mean? Back in the 1800s. So good for them, I guess, to not include that because then the Red Stockings of the 1800s would be like the winningest franchise of all time if they included that. So.
Yeah. I'll have to find the thing, but yeah, that is crazy. I think the Pirates are the last team on that list.
Wow,
Funny enough, they're the best team in Pennsylvania, if you can believe that.
That is kind of crazy. I guess the Phillies really weren't good, except for
the Phillies were
80s.
Bad for a very long time. If I remember, I remember the Phillies were the first team to have 10,000 losses.
Huh. Wow. Yeah, they haven't been around a long time. That happens, I don't know. Any other thoughts on South Stew and Noel and Marte?
No, I'm just really excited about both of them this year. I think Marte has a really good chance to take that next leap into like being a really great player.
Yeah, for sure, and we'd love to see it because, having Ellie come back stronger, having Suarez there for protection, I mean, it can only mean that there may be another guy that comes up and makes his name for himself. And Marte was on that path after he transitioned to the outfield. So hopefully he continues upward and onwards. So shout out to him. Shout out to Sal. But yeah, we're gonna get into the minor league stuff. The minor league camp list was put out, and it's pretty long. We'll try to highlight it because there's a bunch of guys that obviously like our guys, Trevor Kunsel and Jonathan Harmon and Ken Vu and all that are invited to the minor league camp. And usually we don't find out this list until later this month, but they put it out early, so we get to see it. There was some interesting names left off that. There was also an interesting one in a position change. Your guy, Logan Tanner, your brother's opposite doppelganger, named doppelganger.
Yeah.
He's switching from catcher to pitcher, which was something that was rumored about, but now is made official, at least on this minor league invite list. Your guy Shingen Lin is there as well. Got a bunch of other guys that Tyson Lewis. We got, oh man, so many. Our guy Mike Villani that came over in the Alexis Diaz trade. He got invited back. Adolfo Sanchez, Carlos Sanchez, Nick Sando, who appeared in the game, I believe, today.
Yes.
For the Reds. So that was nice to see that the minor leaguers are starting to get in there. Hopefully we'll see a lot more of these guys get an opportunity as well in the coming, games and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, any thoughts or anything from this list or whatnot? I'm going to try to pull up the guys that Carrick was talking about with me.
Yeah, so I'm excited that Austin Hendricks still got an invite. I think some people were kind of worried about that. Just, I think this might be his final year of like contract status with the team. I think you get so many years of like team control through the minors too, if I remember right. This will be his 6th year with the team. And we got Ricardo Cabrera is listed. Ichiro Kano got listed. I'm trying to find some guys that might be like more DSL guys that maybe got promoted. I mean, we're going to see Kyle
Pablo
Henry.
Nunez is on there.
Yeah, Pablo Nunez is on here. Hervin Murillo's on here. So yeah, we're starting to see some more DSL guys come up, and I got the guys that we're really excited about: Jean Pierre Ortiz, Hunter Parks. I see, is Drew Davies on this list? He should be.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. So I mean, like, there's a lot of players that we've covered that are on this list that haven't really been playing stateside yet. Like, I'm most excited about Pablo Nunez. I think people know about that. Just, I love his game. Eli Pitts, he was drafted last year. I'm excited about him as well. I think it's funny looking at Shingen Lin's position, infield, outfield, right-hand pitcher. Like, he's got all the bases covered for him. And
for sure.
Oh man, why am I?
Luke Hayden's there, like you said. Kyle Henley, guy we talked about, and actually, if you mind me having the floor, shout out to Kyle Henley. We talked about him with the new Tortugas announcer, Matthew Muncy, and he's the one that actually shouted out Kyle Henley because he was excited to cover him. Yes. We presume he'll start in Daytona this year as well, even though he had a fantastic year.
Yeah.
Was talking to Carrick about it, and Carrick put out there that he has cut down his strikeout rate since the start of the year, as I look to go that. So like in April, Kyle Henley had a strikeout rate of 45%. And then by the time we get down to August and September, his K rate's at 24 in August and 22% in September. So shout out to Kyle Henley. Really excited to have him coming back, and hopefully he'll have a great year. Hopefully have a great camp as well. So that'll be awesome to see if he's going out there. And we also know he's got great speed with the 50-plus steals last season. Hopefully, Matthew Muncy will be able to call a lot of his games and a lot of exciting plays for him in 2026.
Yeah, and Hansel Jimenez, too, is who I was thinking of. He is – I don't think he's on this list.
I'm pretty sure he was.
Maybe
I heard it. Yeah, on the
there
J.
he is. Yep, there he is.
It's a long list, man.
It's a very long list, and it's tiny font. So it's hard.
There was some notable
on there.
Yeah, there were some notable ones that weren't on there that Carrick and I just discussed off show.
Yeah,
he put out here Angel Celio. Also, Jacet Martinez wasn't invited, which was a big one because he was a DSL guy, I believe, or ACL. I forget.
Yeah.
I think he might have been the ACL.
So what gets me excited, someone that's on this list that hasn't really been talked about, is Iker Radona. I think he had, I think it was last year his first year in the DSL, but he had an incredible year last year. I
Yeah.
remember covering him a lot on the Cincinnati Reds Talk minor league recaps. He's not super young. He's 18, and last year was his first year with the Reds, and he's already getting invited in the minor league camp. He could be ACL guy this year. And then he had a .86 ERA, 6 games started, 13 games total. He had 31 in the third innings, 18 hits. He walked 3 guys, struck out 42. So he was an all-star in the DSL. Him and Pablo Nunez and Adolfo Sanchez were the 3 that the Reds had. Just a phenomenal pitcher. Like he was 17 last year while he was pitching, and just to go out there and just dominate, because a lot of DSL guys, the DSL is really hitter friendly because a lot of DSL pitchers really struggle with their command. And for him to go out there and just dominate the way he did, like, I think him getting into the stateside, pitching in Arizona, as young as he is, like, we could see him jump, and like that's going to be awesome because he's already a decent sized kid. He's 5'11", but he's 18. He could grow, and he's from Mexico, so he's kind of familiar with the Mexico winter leagues and stuff too. So he's a young guy. He pitched on the Rojos too, which is funny because the Rojos is kind of like the younger team compared to the DSL Reds. So he's one that I'm really excited. I didn't even notice he was on that list till just now.
Yeah, he was on there, and Carrick saying he was you covered this DSL All-Star for it, and just outstanding. And it's glad he's coming stateside. Unfortunately, a couple other guys like Salio, and then the other guy Isaac Garcia, which I believe we covered as well in the show. Was not invited, unfortunately. So there are some, kind of notable, at least for our neck of the woods where we cover the DSL and ACL guys, was not included in the stateside. But I mean, I don't know if they got a limit or they cut it down after a certain amount because they have limited space. I know they got a bunch of practice fields out there in Goodyear, but they probably need some sort of cutoff to make sure they can keep in track on who they're having out there and whatnot.
Yeah, I covered him on Reds Talk on Reds on SI back in October. I had mentioned that he pitched in the All-Star game, had a perfect inning, of course, just based off the year that he had. He's not on any prospect list yet, but the MLB hasn't released their top 30 yet, and if he gets some pub stateside finally with some real scouts. I say real in quotations just because, whatever. The only real prospect listings that I really actually care about are MLB pipeline, just because I feel like those are the more accurate ones and they actually invest in the player and not the team they're on. Except for the Dodgers, they somehow have every top prospect.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm excited about him. I that's exciting.
Yeah, for sure. And you got your guy Starlin Torres is also in camp as well, which is awesome to see. So that's shout out to him for making it out there. Yeah, a bunch of other guys. Hopefully we'll get to see a lot of these guys in action with the, in spring training games at the very least. Hopefully see a little bit of it. Like I said, there was a couple guys that made their spring training debut. I don't know if that's a thing. Julian Garcia got in today, and then also, who else did I say? I said it early in the show. another guy got in that was on this minor league list and wasn't a non-roster invitee or whatnot. So yeah, we'll be keeping track on these guys, breaking it down. Also, like we had said at the top of the show, we're going to cover the Reds on Sunday nights, 8 p.m., the Major League Ball Club. But on Mondays, specifically on Mondays, Minor League Monday, just covering at the beginning, it'll probably just be, the top teams of Louisville, Chattanooga and whatnot, because they don't really get going for the ACL and DSL. ACL, I think, is probably in mid-May or something like that. And then the Summer League doesn't start till June, started June for Dominican Summer League. So we'll definitely cover those guys and whatnot when their seasons are definitely going on and everything. And we'll have a preview show as well. I think we're actually going to break down every single – once we start to really get to know what the rosters are, we'll have a preview show for say the Louisville Bats and the Chattanooga Lookouts and what their season is going to look like with the guys that have been assigned to those levels. Same thing with Dayton Dragons and the Daytona Tortugas. We'll have a breakdown show of their roster and what the outlook of their team is going to look like this year. And same thing for ACL and DSL. So we'll have that all for you as separate shows, so you can hopefully follow us through that and whatnot. We really appreciate all the love that we've been getting lately. Ricky put out there, we're trying to get to 200 followers on X. I was putting out there, we're trying to get 100 subscribers on YouTube, and we're getting there. I think we're at 75, 76, which is awesome. Thank you for everyone that's been putting our stuff out there to get us more subscribers and more of a following. Really appreciate that. Carrick's one of the guys leading the charge out there at his Facebook group, his huge Facebook group, 7,000 people. So
yeah,
hopefully those people like our stuff and follow us, because we're trying to do the minors all the way up to the majors, and hopefully do it in a way that you guys appreciate and enjoy.
Yeah, for sure. And shout out the Instagram page too. That's where a lot of the players that we get on kind of communicate the most with us. A lot of players, there is a language barrier for some of the guys that we hope to get on, and eventually, we're working on getting some guys on that do have that language barrier and being able to accommodate that. I know a couple guys, is Pablo Nunez wants to come on, Moises Castillo wants to come on, just to shout out a couple. Yeah, I mean, Instagram page has been growing. It's fun to see. And the Facebook page is where we just kind of hang out and chill and talk and just, Facebook can be a very dark place when it comes to being a Reds fan. And famously, the Reds 4192 page is just full of trolls, and it's just awful. That's where I get all my Facebook comments of the week during the show during the week. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that again too. And I just it's been a fun. We're coming up on a year, just of doing this. It's been a blast. This kind of led into the Reds on SI kind of stuff, and how I can kind of piggyback both off of each other and write about the show and do a show about writing. So it's been a lot of fun. And I never envisioned having the opportunity to talk to players like the way we do, and some of the people that we've talked to, like Tom Berneman and just Jeff Carr, Greg, just to name a couple, Justin Latta from Cleveland. Like, it's been a blast. And shout out Trevor Kunsel for being the first player we had on. Like, he was awesome. Jonathan Harmon, like he really surprised me. I didn't know what I was expecting going into that, but he is an electric human being. If you haven't seen that interview, go back and watch it, because when he talked about, when I asked him about coming back from Tommy John and having the ERA that he did, he's like, if I would have told you I would have done that, I would have kissed you on the mouth. And I had to hold myself composure, because that was hilarious, That was awesome.
Like a good guy to have in the locker room. He seems like a guy that you'd want to like hang out with.
Yeah, and then the story he had for like when they acquired Alexander Vargas, and he's the reason for their winning streak. Like, that seems like that Dayton club, for as bad as they struggled for the most of the year, like they had a really good clubhouse.
Oh, I forgot. Vargas, unfortunately, I think wasn't invited to it, but I forgot my guy Francisco Urbaez is coming to camp, so hopefully he has a good camp and is able to potentially get at least some at-bats or something like that, because he had that injury during the Dominican Winter Leagues and made a comeback and played in the playoffs for Toros, and they ended up finishing second to Hector Rodriguez's Escogido. So shout out to those guys. But we'll hopefully see some Francisco Urbaez on our timelines a little bit soon. At least I'm going to try to put it out there.
You're going to be out there here fairly soon.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be kind of crazy. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. Hopefully at that time, a bunch of our guys will be getting some playing time, or at least some appearances and whatnot. That'd be kind of cool to see in person, or at least, I don't know, seeing them out there on the practice fields in between games and everything. So I don't know exactly what to expect. I'm going to have to let Mike Ballantyne of All Gloves Off and the Lights Out Sports podcast be my guide, because I'm not – he seems to know the ins and outs. I don't know if Ricky, you heard last show. He knows the ins and outs of Goodyear so much that he knows the guy's cars.
That's crazy.
Like
Hopefully these guys are buying new cars.
Well, or I don't know. I don't know if it. I don't know. I don't know how much it really helps or hurts to know that stuff or not know that stuff. I think it's just kind of cool that he knows enough about the whole Reds Goodyear complex that he knows, what's going on at any given time. So it'd be kind of cool to see him, basically hopefully guide us around and see what different guys. I know he's a big Cam Collier guy, so hopefully he gets to see Cam. Cam had a good defensive play on Saturday's game, so that'd be cool if Cam has a great season this 2026. And he'll probably, I think he starts in AAA, I believe, or at least
I would assume, yeah.
So hopefully he'll have a great 2026 and be knocking on the door for the majors, like I think you had predicted in a previous show. So
yeah, and for a couple of the guys that we've talked to, I'm hoping to get a gift sent out to them. I won't be able to make it, but I'll have some Cincinnati stuff for them to try.
And I'll be glad to share it with them, the culture of Cincinnati, as some might say. So that way they can get a taste of it before they get their major league call up or whatnot, or visit the city. So yeah. Any other thoughts on the minor league list and whatnot? I'm sure we could probably go through it once we start to see these guys in action or hear some rumblings about what's going on and whatnot. But yeah, it seems like a pretty good list aside from some guys that got left off. But yeah, I'm excited to see what these guys do in the next month or so.
Yeah, I am pretty excited, and yeah, and Alexander Vargas is on that list. He's just a World Baseball Classic participant.
Oh, he got like a star next to it. Yeah. He's
that
playing
threw
for
us
Cuba?
off a little bit.
Oh man, I didn't know he's playing for Cuba. Wait, I don't even think I put him on my World Baseball Classic preview. Oh, that's cool. Maybe I did. I can't remember now. I know I profiled mostly our guys that are going to probably play a lot. Like Mr. Arroyo and Mr. Eugenio Suarez. They'll be the guys that really will be getting decent playing time, I would suspect. But,
yeah, I'm probably going to butcher this name, but Rajateri Marite.
I think it's Marite. I want to say. But is
it Rajateri? Is that how you say his name?
Probably. I think it's Rajateri. That sounds. I'm sure we're
the World Baseball Classic. He had a really good year too for I believe the DSL. We're finally seeing some of these DSL guys get stateside, and it's awesome to see, just their work kind of paying off, I guess, because a lot of guys, they don't make it, because I remember a few years ago, more than a few years ago, probably a decade now, they had a guy who was, they've really improved on their international scouting. It's never a guarantee you're signing kids, but Norman Rodriguez was one that I remember, who was a very highly paid athlete coming out of I think Venezuela. Shout out him. He actually follows me on my personal Instagram page for some reason, but we've talked. But shout out him. Like he really just kind of never got it together. I remember he came up, he was a top prospect and just slowly kind of dwindled down, and then eventually got called up. I think he got a hit with the Reds. I don't think he ever hit a home run with the Reds. He kind of bounced around a little bit later in his career, but he never really found sustained success in Major League Baseball. But you never know what you're getting. You could have a player like that who makes, a signing bonus of like $2 million and not make it, or you can have an Ellie De La Cruz sign for $60,000 and become the face of baseball one day. You never know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's definitely, if the Reds are investing as they say they are in the Dominicans and the lower level leagues, I think that bodes well in the future. Whether obviously all those guys are not going to make it out to the majors, but if you keep that investment and keep working at that, I think it should bode well for your organizational health to keep producing players, and hopefully you'll get promoted and keep going and keep the minors kind of healthy. So, well, yeah, we'll see. I mean, we got the number 6 international signing, Nunez. What's his first name?
Angel.
Angel.
Does he go by Angel? I don't know if it's Angel or Angel. They kind of get like, it depends on who the person is when it comes.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Because technically, if you go by Ellie's first name, it'd be like A. because like 2 L's is a Y, which is funny.
Yeah.
Aye.
Yeah. Dominican, right? Dominican Angel Nunez.
Yes.
So yeah. So that's another guy that's going to be thrown into the DSL and hopefully grown through there and gets promoted stateside sooner than later. So we'll keep an eye out for that. But yeah, any other thoughts on the minor league guys or anything else? I put on here a topic of Tony Clark resigning. I don't know how far we want to get into that because it is kind of it affects
Seems
the
like
Reds.
a dirtbag human being, to be honest.
I don't know that. I guess what I put it in there is that my take is basically it actually doesn't matter. It actually might help the players in a way because I guess Tony Clark had a reputation of being a player's guy in terms of like he wanted to get certain luxuries that the players were wanting and certain things, guarantees that the owners were happy to give up for like bigger macro issues that the owners end up controlling and whatnot. So there's a lot of stuff going in there. The reason why it might be better for the players that Tony Clark is out is because Bruce Meyer, I guess, is a hard-nosed negotiator, meaning this might be a really, really ugly CBA talk, which I guess is not good for the fans, but it's good for the players in so much that this guy's going to go to the mat for the players and their demands, whatever it may be, on the macro or in the micro level. So I think it as much as Tony Clark is a former player, he's kind of got the face of the players union and whatnot. Bruce Meyer, no one knows what he looks like, but everyone says the reputation is that he's going to fight, which again hurts the fans because it may be a longer lockout, work stoppage than maybe a lot of people predicted. But I think a lot of people are kind of already hedging their bets in terms of saying, well, the MLB owners are taking out $2 billion out of their war chest to basically have just in case that there is a work stoppage to have some operational income or whatever they end up using that $2 billion for among the teams. So I think everyone's kind of preparing for a long winter, so to speak, and it's going to be rough. And like I said, it doesn't really matter to the players who's arguing for them as long as they're getting their demands filled. And I guess this Bruce Meyer is the guy to do it.
Yeah. My opinion on the salary cap has kind of gone back and forth over the amount of time that we've done research. I know me and you, this show originated from an article we did together on the salary cap and the CBA. I originally was all for salary cap. Now just kind of talking to players and kind of getting their opinion, I understand why there shouldn't be a salary cap, just because, like Matthew Muncy had said that, a guy like Juan Soto comes over, it's an American dream. You come over and you come from nothing, a poor kid from the Dominican Republic, and then you earn $70 million a year from a game that you're the best at, But it's also not fair to small market. Yes, a lot of them are billionaires, but I guess to defend our team, which what we're here to do, when you have arguably the poorest owner in baseball, who still somehow, and I can't believe this is going to come out of my mouth, defending the Castellini family, but who still puts out league average, between 12th to 20th in payroll every time, being the poorest owner in the sport, I feel like we could kind of commend them for that, but just having teams like the Dodgers, like the Mets, the Yankees, the Blue Jays, the Phillies, that just kind of have like bottomless pockets, like especially the Dodgers, just for the group of people that they have. And granted, like the market helps, the TV market helps them, but you look at like the NBA or you look at the NFL in some regards, you have, I think, a better collective bargaining agreement that kind of benefits everybody. Like NBA, I think it's like the players get pretty close to this, like the same percentage the owners get from revenue. Granted, smaller player pool, which helps. There's 15 guys on the NBA roster compared to, let's just say, 30 on a major league roster, between guys getting called up and sent down and injuries. But I just I just think there needs to be something that benefits everybody, whether it's a salary cap or a floor, or if it's finding a way to limit something, you know. But I feel like that ship has sailed. Like if they were going to implement a salary cap, it should have been in '94. Like that's when it should have happened before these contracts became way outrageous. Like you remember when Mike Trout, I think we talked about it with Matthew also. Like you have, like we go from uh Dave Parker being the first $1 million salary per year in 1980. Let's just say 85. It was around that area. It was in the mid 80s. From that to in 2001, Ken Griffey Jr. signed, or 2000 he signed 9 years, $116 million. Like, and they had to defer that up until last year. So I guess I don't know what you do, but I just feel like if you were going to implement a salary cap, it should have been done a long time ago, because now you are affecting legitimate salaries of players that have earned it, quite frankly.
Yeah. Couple things. I got lots of thoughts when you're making good points there. Yeah, we learned from Matthew Muncy that the CBAs are different, or at least they're maybe a little bit intertwined, but they're kind of separate for the minors and the majors. So that'll be interesting to see just the developments on that angle. Hopefully we can learn about that in the coming months and after December 1st, exactly what the minor league CBA looks like. But what you're talking about in terms of salary cap, salary floor, I don't think now, based on obviously Bruce Meyer now being the lead guy in the PA, he's not going to sell for salary cap or salary floor. That's obviously like the goal for the owners, because it helps cap their expenses, and then that'll allow them, for like teams like the Dodgers, to have even more income. So it'll be kind of interesting, you know, in terms of like it still helps the Dodgers too, because if they get capped in their amount of like salary cap, they're just going to have even more profits to reinvest into whatever else. But that's not my main point. My main point is that based on the NBA salary cap, as you were kind of alluding to a little bit, what had ended up happening with like the first cap, that was like a hard cap, and then they had to do like an apron that if you went into it like a luxury tax, like how they do in baseball, it would be a penalties. And then obviously the 2022 Warriors blew past that and they made a second apron. I think that's more kind of what possibly could happen. What was also another interesting consequence of the NBA salary cap is like guys like LeBron James or the top players in the NBA, they ended up making less than possibly what they're worth, right? Like they're not getting the Juan Soto, Ohtani contracts that they may or may not be worth. Obviously, not exactly the same numbers because of the different amount of games, but you know what I mean? Like that type of echelon, they're not getting those contracts. So what ended up happening is that the top earners kind of get capped, but the middle class grows. So there's a bunch of guys that never made All-Stars. A guy that is like the poster child of this is Toby Harris. I forget who he was with. He was with Philadelphia for a long time. I forget what he was with Detroit now. He's with the Pistons. But he's made like $150 million and has never made an All-Star game in his career. Think about that. Like, think about a $150 million player in Major League Baseball not making an All-Star game.
I feel like we're getting pretty close to that. Like,
is it?
I don't know. Like,
is Kyle Tucker an All-Star?
I think he was last year.
Okay,
but like we're seeing with Bo Bichette, like I don't know if you've seen any like highlights from him. Like his defense has been atrocious so far with New York, and I don't think he's that good of a hitter. Like he's a good hitter, but I don't think he's like I don't consider him like an elite player. So like I don't know. I think eventually we get there, but like I don't know. I don't think a salary cap at a floor is the answer, but like eventually we're gonna see guys making, you know, $140 million over 5 years just be like mid.
Yeah, there's a bunch of comments here I want to get to as well. Sam Morrell has some comments here. The Reds are now kind of setting themselves up for kind of a bunch of good hitters, a bunch of good pitchers that are going to hit arbitration or hit possible situations where they might get extensions. and they're going to end up having to possibly get rid of those guys. And that is kind of the life of a small market team. You know what I mean? Getting rid of guys maybe before their last year of control or before they're owed an extension or whatnot. So that would be kind of interesting. The thing that I've seen about this is like, let's get a rich owner in, but like a lot of owners run it like a business. It's not just except for maybe Steve Cohen in New York Mets, who runs it like a hobby. I think even if like a Mark Cuban buys the Reds, he's going to try to run profitability. Like even Chicago Cubs, the Ricketts owner is a billionaire, yet he stresses sustainability and has like improved his margins. If there was a graphic months ago when they're talking about salary cap stuff as well, and how much the Reds or how much each team pays their salary compared to their profits, and the Cubs are like, they make a ton of profits, but they like utilize 33% of that. So it's like, and there is some arguments. They're like really revamping Wrigleyville and whatever, and they're probably reinvesting into the stadium, who's 100+ years old. So that probably is expensive as well. But I don't know if having a rich owner is necessarily going to make us. It might make us in the short term, but in the long term, he's going to possibly, if he sees a bunch of losses over year and year and year, and not any winning from it, then they're going to start cutting salary. They're going to start trading guys. It's going to be the same old, because what is really hurting Major League Baseball, what is really hurting anybody that's not the NFL, is a lucrative TV contract that can mitigate all these other issues. It's why the NFL is what it is. It's got the biggest TV deals. It's just getting bigger and bigger with its TV deals, with its market share, with all the advertising and stuff that comes along with it, that you can't compete with it. Everyone's going to be second fiddle to the NFL media deal. And that's the point of the owners and the commissioner. They got to do that. They got to be able to share the TV money, like Eric's saying. That was also something that was reported fairly recently, is that the Dodgers got a really advantageous deal with their TV sharing money. They'd only, because in 2020 or whatever it was when they sold the Dodgers to Mark Walter and Magic Johnson or whatever, the guy that ended up getting divorced, they settled that ownership sale to the Dodgers when he was in bankruptcy, the former owner, because he was getting divorced and losing all his money because he was getting divorced, and he was basically filing bankruptcy. And basically what ended up happening is that the Dodgers cut a deal with Major League Baseball that they only have like 10% of what they're supposed to be taxed on being revenue shared, as opposed to the 30 to 40% that should be taxed on. So they're saving like $60 million per year, every single year, that should be taxed and revenue shared with the rest of Major League Baseball. So that's just another thing that could be discussed. I don't know if that's something that will be down the road. Actually, remember there's like a 2028, 2029 year where they're going to consolidate all of MLB media. I think that's when that media right deal with Spectrum or whatever it was got cut in 2020. So yeah, there's a lot of other issues. I don't know. Cuban's not going to save us. He'll spend his money for like 2 or 3 years, but if he's not turning a profit or winning, it'll be back to the same old. I feel like I'm going on a bit.
No, it's honestly like the only thing that really makes sense is sharing money. It sucks when you're the top end and you have to give more, but I mean, it's good for the game, I think it's not right. Like I'm going to say this. It's not fair when you have historical teams like the Reds and the Pirates, and I guess the Twins to a degree, just, kind of unable to, like the Reds, if the Reds were in the situation that the Dodgers were in the World Series, where they go Game 7, extra innings off of, I think, an 18-inning game a couple games earlier, they're not able to pull out the players that the Dodgers pulled out of the bullpen that game. Like, the Dodgers pulled out Blake Snell and Yamamoto to end the game. Like, the Reds probably have to use Hunter Green and probably Lodolo in that 18-inning game. And yeah, they could probably get away with trying to pull them into the game in the final game, but I mean, you're pulling out all-star after all-star and then great reliever after great reliever because you can just buy these pieces. When the Reds are relying on, Zach Maxwell being a top 25 prospect, hopefully getting command, Connor Phillips being a former highly ranked prospect who was a player to be named later in the trade that sent Suarez and Winker to Seattle. It's it's kind of indescribable how stark contrast there is between the team like the Dodgers and the bottom feeders like the Reds, the Pirates, the Rockies, um, Tampa Bay, kind of, but yeah,
Marlins.
Marlins.
Not a Marlins show, but yeah,
Somehow always is.
Yeah, I was just trying to think like the problems that MLB faces can actually, if the Dodgers win a third straight World Series, that actually could be good in a weird way. It might draw enough ire. Obviously, the fans would be livid everywhere, but maybe from the ownerships, you need basically in anything that's going to be passed in the ownership ranks, you need 23 owners to agree. You need that many owners to agree on a certain thing. That might be the thing that pushes some owners over the edge and say, yeah, I think we need to do this. I think we need whatever it ends up being, right? Like you said, there's a lot of ideas that are being floated out there. I don't know exactly what it'll end up looking like. I think Carrick's positive out here. He's saying that they think they will play, and I think either side doesn't want the minors to miss a year. I mean, 2020 has set back some players. I think, Ricky, you talk about Austin Hendrick kind of having a lost year in his high school senior or junior year, whatever it was. And basically that kind of it sets a whole kind of almost not a generation, but at least a couple of years back to kind of get back on track. And they they consolidated the minors after the COVID pandemic and everything. So hopefully everything is a little bit better suited. They go to the 6 games series and whatnot. So it kind of cuts down on travel and everything. So I like to think hopefully that they won't do that again to the minors, kind of cut them out of another year. I know the majors, a bunch of guys who make enough money will probably be okay, but obviously the minor leagues is the ones that could suffer the most.
Yeah, because there's some interesting stories. We could probably talk about this more on a different episode about salary cap, but I know um, there's some players that talk about like openly like they're kind of like social media guys now, but like back when they played their minor league career, they made like no money. Like you make maybe $20,000 over the course of like 3 years. It's like it's not livable stuff for a lot of guys. Which nowadays salaries are a little bit better. But still, I mean, when you live on the bottom end of the spectrum like that, like it's difficult.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if you got any thoughts about this. We could probably go on and on and on about
Yeah.
salary cap. Like you said, we basically started this podcast and with that article and everything, just trying to figure out because it's that time. We're in 2026. The CBA is expiring. If you don't know, and there will be some ugliness to it, I believe, but hopefully there will be baseball at the end of it.
Yeah, we can only hope.
You got any hot takes or anything to cap off the show? I got one that I forgot to get to.
All right, you go with yours, and I'll think of one.
So like spring training is cool. It's nice to see the guys out there working and everything like that. I had mentioned that Suarez kind of tried to go 75% down the line to maybe beat out a single, but not really. I feel like though, like how the NFL preseason is becoming less and less of a thing. Like some guys like Joe Burrow don't play a whole, preseason for whatever reason, maybe because they got some tweaks or whatever that happened in practice, or, they play one series or one quarter in the first game and then boom, done. We got to do that with some of our guys. I think for spring training, Ty Steve, he hit the ball hard, looked great behind the plate. Don't need to see him again. He's good. We know what Ty Steve is. If he goes out there, maybe it's the toss with the starting pitcher before the actual catcher comes out there. You know what I mean? Just to keep him warm and whatnot, getting back and forth. Ellie, don't need to see him anymore. He hit the ball hard twice to the gap. Looked good running around the bases. Looks good, with his shirt off, whatever. Don't need to see him in another spring training game. He could just go to the practice fields. JJ Bleday, same thing. Well, because he's kind of new to the team, maybe, I don't know. Suarez, don't need to see him anymore. I'll just see him in the World Baseball Classic. He, unless he's feeling like he needs to get some at bats or whatever, like all those guys, basically shut them down. Like, load manage, whatever you want to call it. We don't need to see any more of these guys in spring training, as far as I'm concerned. Matt McClain even could be in there. Like, I don't know, go out on a high note, get that confidence or whatever. Just go out there and do it. I just feel like let's not risk it if we can help it, especially if we know what these guys are. Let's just we'll just see them at practice.
I got one.
Okay.
How about maybe instead of making spring training like the end of February and most of March, you cut that in half and you do 5-inning games, doubleheaders.
Somebody suggested that to cut down spring training. I think it was like in response to the fact that they play 30-some games, right, or whatever, and then there would be guys that get hurt in spring training, and everyone's like, why? Like,
do doubleheaders, split squads, split squad doubleheaders, cut the games in half, literally again by doing half the games. Like, you could do 15 games and still get doubleheaders, make it 30 games, but just make it in 15 days instead of 30 days. And then you can kind of get that travel back to the city that you're going to be opening day, kind of, get settled in, get comfortable, and then ramp up for the games.
Yeah, and nobody's pitching 7 or 8 innings. You know what I mean? 5 innings sounds good. You know what I mean? You get 2 or 3
you get
guys.
1 inning. Most of your pitchers get 1 inning. Throw a reliever out there every out. Like get an out, sub them out, get an out, sub them, get an out, sub them. And depending on maybe if it's like a young pitcher and you want to see like an inning out of the guy, you do that. But like, get your starter gets an inning and then it's an out for every reliever. And you can figure it out.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess there's just tradition maybe to it to get there mid-February and then, go all ramp up all the way to. Here's the thing, like, I'm trying to think back. Like, usually opening day in the past was like mid-April. You know what I mean? Like, or beginning of April, maybe first week of April.
Now it's March.
Creeping up. Yeah, now it's creeping up more and more into March, and still ending about the same time. Maybe it's just more rest days. Maybe it's just something the CBA argue they have more days off or whatnot. But like, would they be going there in April or going starting in April? Would they be going to spring training in like mid-February and being there for like 2 months? Like, I guess I don't know exactly what they did back in the day. Maybe it was a little bit different circumstance, but I don't know. It's a preseason NFL is now down to 3 games. They can cut down spring training games. Unless like you're trying to get a bunch of your minor leaguers that you invited a lot of time. But like you said, you just do split squad, and they're all in the same area in Arizona or in Florida, wherever you are. So, I don't know. I guess as a small market team, we don't want to see any of our guys, TJ Friedel, try to lay out and injure yourself on a catch. Just
like that Stephen Kwan play where he missed the catch. Like that, slightly variable option. Like he gets hurt on that play in the very first spring training game. Like that would stink.
That would be the definite answer of like, this is why you don't play spring training if you see your guy Stephen Kwan out there.
But then like you also want to see live pitching. You want to see game action. But like you can just shorten it. 5-inning. If you're going to play the same amount of games, just make the game shorter. Yeah. Or they don't have to be a full 9-inning game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Also, this is not a take, but as something I looked up and had in one of my tabs, the manager for Pittsburgh Pirates is a guy named Don Kelly, and he just was hired in May of last year. So you are for sure not counting in like his experience or his lack of experience as a manager into that Fangraphs Pacoda, because I for sure have full confidence that Terry Francona could outmanage this guy. And that's huge in terms of if you're winning 82 games or 83 games or 84 games and making the playoffs or being right there. I don't know. It seems like their advantage Reds, just that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure this guy's a good guy. I'm sure,
Yeah.
he played for the Pirates, it looks like, as well. He's from Pennsylvania.
You
I'm
don't
sure he's
become Terry Francona without starting out being nobody. You don't become Pat Murphy without starting out as nobody. Like you have to.
but
You got to start somewhere. I mean, maybe he does become some elite manager, but I think he's going to figure out quickly with the payroll the Pirates have. Like their windows are short. I mean,
yeah,
they've
no,
had one. What have they had? One playoff appearance since like 1980 something. Like they
more than one. I thought they had
two
the
maybe.
wild card
They had
2013, and then
2014,
and the 2010 wild card.
2010. I
We'll have
think.
to look. We'll have to look it up. We're
Because I think
not a Pirates.
no, maybe not 2010, but I remember in 2010 it was between the Reds and the Pirates in the division.
Yeah, Reds won the division for sure.
Yeah.
They might have got a wild card, but I think it'd be tough because that was only in the era, I feel, with the one wild card, not the three, unless they expanded. I know the 2013 playoff game was the two wild cards, but it was just a one-game playoff. Unfortunately for us, who was pitching? It was someone for the Pirates just killed us.
So the last time, here's the Red or the Pirates playoff. So 2015 they lost a wild card against the Cubs. 2014 they lost against the Giants. 2013 they lost in the division series against the Cardinals. Beat the Reds. So they've appeared in 2015, 14, 13, and 12. And then 1992, 1991, 1990. And then 1979, So you have to go back a ways. There's not many fans that are in the social media era that are accustomed to Pirates winning baseball. And I can say the same thing about the Reds, honestly, but like at least, 2010 was a huge year. 2012 I think we were like one of the better teams winning like record wise, 97 wins that year.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go from a Hall of Fame manager and Dusty Baker to a nobody and Brian Price, which I think that was kind of their mistake, and then holding on to players too long or whatever. But the Pirates had a good 3-year run, but you got to go back to the 90s and then the 70s.
Yeah, for sure. There's 30 to 35 games in spring training. We're asking for them to shorten that, or at least shorten the game so that it's less likelihood of injuries. Obviously, injuries happen no matter what, but we want to make sure our guys aren't going out there doing something that they regret. Like I referenced, TJ Friedel got hurt in spring training a couple seasons ago and was injury prone throughout. That was the 24 season, right? So like that was rough. But we don't want any of that kind of stuff going like that. Carrick, I would say 1975 was a pretty good year. I got upset. I was almost going to say something inappropriate on X because there was MLB, I forget who, was listing the top 10 or top 9 all-time regular season teams, and they had the 75 Reds at like number 4. I'm like, and then they picked the 1961 Yankees as the top team. I'm like, okay. I'm like, the 1975 Reds had like 9 All-Stars in like every single position. So like, what are we talking about?
That team has 8 Hall of Famers.
So like, a catcher, starting pitcher, I don't even know where they put P. Rose at third, maybe.
Davey
Joe Morgan at
Concepcion does
second.
not get enough credit nationally for how good of a player he was.
Yeah, I don't. They should have been at least top 3, 4. I guess got me upset. But
I think he was 1 year, or maybe 2 years away from being a part of the Bigger Machine and the 1990 team. I think he retired in 88 or 89.
Okay. Yeah. I was just like, I don't know. I guess maybe it's just bias. I think I might have got the list here. The number 1 team was the 61 Yankees, and they won 109 games. It's like, I don't know. That must be like a DiMaggio team or something. Where's the rest? Number 2, 1970 Orioles, which ironically was the team that the Reds traded Frank Robinson to. And he had a monster MVP season after they traded him. So shout out to the Reds for trading Frank Robinson, I guess. 1927 Yankees. I don't know. That's pre-integration. I guess it's cool that they were good in 1927, but that's like anyway. I can't believe that the 2001 Mariners were number 6. They won like 115 games. Talking about being a regular season team, Ichiro wasn't Big Unit Randy Johnson. It's still in it. No, that wasn't. He was in Arizona at that point. A-Rod, I think, was in 2001, right? Like, that's a heck of a team, the 2001 Mariners. I remember them winning so many games. And then, like, the 1998 Yankees were number 5. 2019 Astros, they're a top regular season team. They're good. I remember them kind of like being maybe I'm confusing with the 22. The 22 Astros kind of were like, that was the last hurrah for that dynasty. And in 2018, Red Sox were number 8, 1939 Yankees. I don't know. Decent list. I think the Reds.
A lot of big market teams on there.
Yeah. And Carrick's put out there, he's being from Eastern Kentucky. TV came out, Huntington, West Virginia, maybe a Reds fan. Oh, he's a Steelers fan too. Okay. Yeah, 70s were good to you, Carrick. For the
you got
Steelers
pretty
and
lucky
the
not
Reds.
being a Pirates fan.
Yeah, looking at that. Yeah. I think Damon Rice here talking about the 99 team. The 99 team was the game 163, right? Where they won 97 games as well.
They had to face Al
lost to
Leiter.
Al Leiter and the Mets. Yeah. That was the team that could have done something.
Yeah, because you
really
think about
big.
that team, and then the next year they go out and they trade for Ken Griffey Jr., and then they won a decent amount of games that year. What could have been, you think about had they had not traded for Griffey and you keep Mike Cameron and, maybe those players develop that you traded and they become good pieces, but like you got a chance to trade for a generational player like Ken Griffey Jr., who's, from the city. He's got family ties. His dad won a World Series with the team. Like, it's pretty awesome. But, he unfortunately injuries just ruined everything.
Yeah, I think your guy Austin Elmore had a little clip out there on social media when he was doing his radio show about the negative the pessimism of Cincinnati Reds fans. And he was trying to figure out why and what happened. And I think he was trying to kind of link up that maybe the great expectations of bringing Junior home kind of set up Reds fans especially, and the disappointment of the Bengals over the years as well kind of all culminated into this kind of era that we're in. We're starving. We're hungry for something, hungry for a winner. Obviously, the Bengals did go to the World Series, Super Bowl in 2022, but the Reds haven't sniffed the World Series in 30 plus years. So, we are hungry, and we're hopefully going to have a good one in 2026, man. I'm excited for this year. Really excited just to kind of break it all down and see what's going on with the minors and the majors at the same time. And hopefully we'll be able to share that journey with you guys and have a good time along the way.
We're excited. We're pretty hyped coming into this year. A lot of moves were made that make us happy. We get Suarez back. We get a revamped bullpen. I think the bullpen pieces that we brought in are going to be really good. And then the talent that is fighting for that last spot. Yeah, they got roughed up today, but it's their first outing. I'm not worried. Yep.
I guess that's a good thing. There's 30 plus games in spring training because this is just one of 30, whatever. So we'll be hopefully able to see May and Maxwell and hopefully Connor Phillips. That was kind of the more surprising of those three with control issues. That Connor Phillips was the guy walking 3 guys, I believe. So hopefully he doesn't have that type of outing anymore, and he'll be getting back on track to where he was at the end of 2025. So,
I guess before we wrap up, I kind of want to shout out some of the guys that have been joining in on the Instagram side because their stuff doesn't show up on. Well,
shout out to Carrick and Damon Rice and everyone else showing up in the YouTube chats. So appreciate you guys for being there.
Yeah, but on the Instagram side, Matt Mounsey joined in for a little bit. Moises
Oh, did he?
Castillo joined in for a little bit. Our pal Ethan, he
Wow.
joined in for a little bit. Trevor Kuntzel joined in for a little bit. Blake Piercefield joined in for a little bit. He followed us on there. He's a Ohio Sports Talk fan as well. And then Eddie Mata. I don't know if you might know much about him, but he's got a podcast that he does where
I saw his one with the mayor.
yeah, and he's been awesome about tagging us in his stuff on Instagram,
Okay.
kind of getting us some exposure out there. He had Sean Casey on. He had Icky Woods on there recently. He's an actor, I believe, but he loves getting stories out of guys that you don't normally get to hear about. I don't know if you saw the Sean Casey one about being out in public in his underwear. It's pretty funny. I discovered him in a post he tagged. He had in I think it was in Carrick's group or it was in one of the groups, but it was a Vaughn interview where he talked about Marge Schott. He was the reason why
that went kind of viral.
He was the reason why they got rid of the no facial hair policy because he had a goatee and he's like, my kids have never seen me without facial hair. Like you're not doing this. You traded for me based off of who I am. Like I'm not changing because of that. And credit to Satan herself. Like she caved.
Flip it.
You know, like, she caved and like she allowed it. And then ever since we're seeing guys with facial hair on the Reds. But yeah, shout out to everybody on the Instagram page because I do know like for some reason it doesn't show up on StreamYard in our comments, but Eddie Mattis said hey. So what's up, Eddie?
All right, shout out to him. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. We're trying to grow, guys. Trying to get 100 subscribers on YouTube. Trying to get 100 plus more on Instagram. Trying to get 200 followers on X. Really appreciate it. Shout out also All Gloves Off, our kind of partners in crime on this adventure. Mike's podcast will be out on Tuesdays. A Lights Out podcast. Thurhan, All Sports Era. He's on like every single day, it feels like. And then Cheese, he's gearing up for the draft, which will probably be here before you know it, for the NFL, big NFL guy. I think that's actually his biggest strength, right? Like he's just not just a Packers guy. He likes the draft.
Yeah,
he likes
he's an NFL guy in general. He's just a fan of football.
Yeah, and for some, the draft is all they have, like the Jets. So like, sometimes that's the only hope they can get is getting their guy in the draft. But anyway, not an NFL podcast, but shout out those guys. Hopefully you go follow them. We really appreciate everyone that follows us, and we'll be getting you guys more content. I mean, it's almost March. We're coming on 1 year. I think next Sunday technically is our 1st year anniversary, but we'll have podcasts recorded, interviews. We'll have all sorts of stuff coming your way in March. And yeah, like Ricky said, I'll be in spring training, so I'll hopefully get out there and get the lay of the land and firsthand account of what these guys are doing out there.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a live show with you and Mike live from Arizona. Sure. I'll join you.
For sure. Yeah, for
as long as you guys don't go live at 8:00 Mountain Time and it's 10:00 here.
Yeah, that's the nice Friday, thing about.
But...
Yeah, we'll see. Well, that's the nice thing about the time change is that the games are real early in the day, so you got the rest of your afternoon and night kind of open. But yeah, we'll figure something out. Stay tuned. Really appreciate you, Ricky, doing all the stuff behind the scenes and all the different things that you do, all the different hats. So we appreciate you as well for all the stuff you do. Hopefully, we'll be just getting that much bigger, and maybe we'll expand. Maybe I don't know. Put that out there. We'll have
maybe we turn into a daily show one day. Who knows?
Oh man, oof, I'm tired just hearing that.
It's got more.
I'll quit my day job.
Yeah.
But all right, if you got anything else,
no. Go Reds.
Sign off. Yeah, go Reds.
Go Reds.